I think it's,
Okay.
you know what?
No one here. I was thinking.
Next generation might.
Good afternoon, Littleton. Welcome to the, June 9th meeting of the Select Board for our goals. We'll start, as we always do, with the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Clerk.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. The agenda is pretty simple. We're going to review our goals for the year. I got feedback from a couple of you that the goals matrix that we've used in past years was a little bit cumbersome to work with, so I'm trying something new. And I have this document here, which I have up on the screen, which has just a different organization and a little bit more information. Everything that you all put into the matrix is in this document. I moved a couple around a little bit, but I didn't change anything. And my idea is that we'll collaborate on this document right now, figure out, who owns things and hopefully timelines. I can put them into this doc during the discussion. Some of the goals in here are more defined than others, and they're all based on what you put into the matrix and what we talked about at our department heads meeting. And then after the meeting, after I do the spell check, I'll give it to Anthony and he can distribute it. So I'd really like to try to stick to defining the goals and not getting into solutioning it, because I think that we won't get through them if we do that. I would like to have the goals be practical, so measurable, specific, as the acronym says, and with a due date, but that's not always possible, and I understand that. The one thing I do want to say is don't commit to a goal if you can't commit to it. I'd rather that we don't do one than we say we're going to do one and we don't, or if you get stuck in the middle, please let the rest of us know so we can help pick up the slack. And then my focus on this year is going to be getting us caught up and compliant with some of the administrative stuff that has come up in the last few weeks with all the meetings that we've been having. And that's why my name is on the first few goals here. If someone else is desperate to do some of these, I'm happy to hand them off, but I feel like you all should be out in the sunlight getting the glory, and I'll be hunched over a computer screen in a dank basement.
Can I just interrupt you for a
Yeah.
second? I can't read this.
Okay.
I don't have my glasses. Do you have a hard copy of this?
I don't have it.
I have no idea what we're looking at.
Okay.
I can't see either.
You can't see it either? I can print it out, but I'd have to print it out here or
If we could get a printed copy, that would be helpful, because I don't know what we're talking about.
okay.
You can zoom, right?
I can zoom
On
in.
Anthony on that one? 'Cause
It's-
they're both-
Well, it's me. I mean, I can zoom.
I mean, I'm just nearsighted, so I.
Well, so is that
Is that
feasible?
I can't read that.
No?
I don't even know you.
I'm pretty blind. And there's a glare,
Can I just
too.
email it to Matthew and we'll go print it?
Yeah, I can email it to you and you can print it. Sounds good.
What does SMART stand for?
It's an acronym.
It's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
Okay, all right, yeah, no, I really can't see that.
Word doc,
I don't
is
have
that
my
Word doc
glasses.
good?
Sure, it should be.
Remember back when we had a guy over here that we could say, hey, could you go print these out?
I remember that.
Good old days.
All right, I'll start running up.
I will be sending it to you.
Make sure 3 points of contact, hand on the railing, safety first.
All right. Okay, so I guess we're just going to wait for Anthony to get back down.
I mean, it's stuff you just want to read. You have stuff you, without,
I mean, I could start just reading them, I guess.
or just, yeah, kind of the understanding what the SMART goal.
Oh, I can do, yeah, so SMART stands for, S is specific, specifically what will be accomplished and what actions will we take to accomplish them. Measurable, how are we going to tell whether a goal has been completed or not? Achievable, do we have the skills and resources to do it? Relevant, how does the goal align with our broader goals? And time-bound, what's the time frame or due date for accomplishing it? I don't think that we'll be able to put all of those into every goal that we come up with today, but as many as possible with a due date would be great. My personal desire would be for us to have a specific things that we deliver on a regular basis and review. Maybe at every meeting we do one or two of them, and one of us comes in with a report or an update on what they have done for their goals. But yeah. That's what I have.
This is not good television.
What's that?
This is not.
This isn't good television? Yeah, well,
Dance?
I mean, you could role of the captain, that's something you knew.
yeah.
Is that specific to how we're going to?
I mean,
We've had that in the past.
yeah,
who's gonna-
so, some of these goals, like the one that's here, for example, this is one that like the administrative items that we identified by talking to the department heads and at the retreat. So things like a calendar, which you brought up, Cindy, which is a great one. Training for board members, goals for Anthony. All of those, I would say, fall under the heading of, administrative, keep the select board operational and on task, and I would be the captain of that goal, and then there's some subtasks under there. Anthony would be probably responsible for identifying training and organizing it. But my role in that would just be to make sure that everything is moving forward and reporting back to the board and, facilitating if possible.
I can't.
But yes, I think it would be, obviously, you all need to be able to see it, so.
I wish we had you added another category, goals identified at select board retreat and department head meetings.
Yeah.
We could have, if we had known that was an additional category, we all could have spoken to that in the matrix.
Or is this all the?
Well, so I thought about that. So I thought about the fact that a lot of these, reorganizing these, like, it verges on deliberative if you're sending me opinions about what the goal should be and I'm responding. So I think that this is the right place to organize them.
Maybe it should have just been under everybody, since it was something that we did deliberate in an open meeting. So it just should have been across all of us, because if they were identified at the select board retreat and at the department head meetings, they just should have been under everybody's.
It should have been on everybody's.
Yeah, like I didn't know that was a category with the matrix that we had
So
received.
it just should have been ditto, 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 because it was identified at a retreat that we did collectively. We did
Yeah.
deliberate, and we spoke about it.
Yeah.
And it was at another meeting that we had with the department heads in this room. So it was, rather than it being Matthew's stuff, it's all of our stuff.
Well, we could also talk about what we think you missed something too, right? If you want to
Yeah,
add,
like, this is my best
What you-
shot at trying to.
'Cause I know you took notes, I think.
Yeah, but I'm not sure I understand what you're saying, Chuck. Like, this was in the goals matrix that I sent out.
No, was it?
That was not a
That category
category.
wasn't in it?
No.
No, and that's
Oh,
my
I
point.
see, okay.
Because it
You
just
added,
happened
yeah,
2 days
that's a
ago,
new
right?
category. We would have all commented on that.
Well, would we meet 2 days ago?
No, but if we had known it was a category, we would have commented on it.
So I think what Matthew's saying is the document that you can't read on the screen, he took this one and turned it into a different format.
Right.
So as we're going through the other document, if there's either things that are missing, as in for full goals, or these are like subtasks within a goal, we should add them.
Well, I think we need to break it down in two things. We haven't actually talked collectively about the discussion that we had with the department heads. There was a lot of information shared with us during that meeting. We have not recapped.
Correct.
After having that meeting to say, let's talk about what the department head shared with us. there was a lot of information that they shared. There was commonalities between departments that might align with our goals, which ones align with our goals, which ones don't. Are there other areas we should be looking at? I would like to have that discussion as part of this process.
We can, I mean, we have that, we have we have categories for the administrative stuff, but there's several others in there too, which match up with those. And I think, okay, look, my understanding was that you all put your goals into the matrix that you wanted to accomplish this year.
Based upon a prescriptive list of goals that were.
Categories.
Other was in there, but it was kind of, so I guess to piggyback on what Cindy was saying, this was, historically, when we do goals, it's a collective process. It's not, the chair doesn't decide that this is the way we're gonna do it this year, and I applaud you for all the effort and time that you put into this, but we're 5 members. No one of us, as we all know, and was reiterated on Monday night at our retreat, no one of us acts alone or has the authority to tell the others what to do, essentially. So, just in sticking with that and collaboration, I think more discussion around, this is the format that I propose, is this something that everybody's comfortable with? Couldn't do that via email because it's an open meeting law violation. So I think we all just kind of complied and filled in based upon the categories that you prescribed. And I think that this meeting is where a lot of that should have come to.
So actually, those weren't categories I prescribed, those were categories that existed
pre-existing.
in the old goal matrix, which I got feedback like, well, this is too rigid, or this doesn't cover the things that I want, and so that's why I changed. And like, look, none of this is set in stone. If this process isn't right, then we'll change it. This is the first chance any of us have had to talk about this.
Right.
And so my opinion is this is going to be a more effective way for us to define the goals. And,
That's one opinion, though.
yeah, it's my
I
opinion.
mean, SMART
And-
goals, I'm familiar with SMART goals.
Yeah, but even if these weren't smart, as the chair, I'm going to run the meeting, and I'm going to set the agenda, and we're going to,
I mean, I guess my point, if I may, is the goals identified at Select Board retreat and department heads, I wish that the entire board had been given the opportunity to realize that was a category as part of this process.
I guess I don't understand why having it be a category is different from you,
We didn't deliberate.
giving me your goals for the year.
Because
None of
it's
us
a new
debriefed.
category.
None of us debriefed either. None of us spoke about that meeting that happened the end of last week.
So can I ask why it makes a difference?
Yeah.
We're gonna set the goals right now, so if there was something on the matrix that you didn't feel if there's something you wanna add, we can still add it, right? So,
Yeah, let's just go ahead and
Use the other
see how it
category.
plays out.
I mean, we can, so, I was one of the ones that commented that I thought this format was really hard, because it makes it seem like everyone's doing everything, and since everyone was filling it out individually, I had no idea what anyone else was signing up to do. Right, so when I filled this out, I put down the things that not necessarily that I wanted to accomplish, but I thought the select board needed to accomplish. But it still has my name on the column, right? That doesn't mean that I'm signing up to do it, right? So that's the problem I have with this sheet. And I
Yeah.
was hoping that the other sheet, and like I just saw it now too, kind of solves some of that problems, right? So that we can say who's actually signing up to do it, rather than having, what it looks like I'm signing up to do on this sheet.
Which you are.
Well, that's
Well,
not,
no, I think
That's
that's
the
what
way
we're
the
going to,
sheet's
that's what we're
designed.
going
that's
to
what I'm
decide
saying is the
tonight.
problem with this sheet, is I'm not necessarily, I mean, there's no way I'm accomplishing everything that I said on the
No,
sheet.
and so
But we
that's
as
why-
a board should accomplish a lot of it, right?
Well, it depends, but are you going to be the gold champion?
Right,
We
well,
can
there's
decide-
nothing on the
we
sheet that
can
says
de-
who's the champion.
We can decide that tonight. I mean, that's what this
That's
meeting,
part of the
that's what this
process,
meeting is
yeah.
for.
Exactly.
And we
So-
can trade champions, and we can change the goals, and we can change who owns the sub-goals, and we can, remove them, or anything you want.
I mean, I guess my point is, if I had known that goals identified at the Select Board retreat and department head meeting was going to be a category, I would have added a lot of information to it, and I would have liked time to prepare to add that information, is my only point. So we can just, we'll go
Okay.
forward. I have a bunch of notes, and I'll see
Okay.
what I can pull from that.
I guess I don't. I guess I'm confused. I mean, this isn't accusatory, why didn't you add the goals that you wanted to do to the document when I sent it around? And I'm not saying you did anything wrong.
Because I don't know that they're necessarily, so we met with the department heads, right?
Yeah.
They all talked about, there was commonalities between their goals.
Right.
Right? So I figured we would have a discussion about our discussion with the department heads, and then figure out, hey, this is the feedback they gave us based on the goals matrix that we've already put together.
I guess I mean, so I identified a lot of the department head goals, and we can definitely have that debate tonight. And if I miss some, we can absolutely add them.
Right, so
I figured everybody would put all their goals in, like, is sort of what I thought when I assembled this document.
So can I make a suggestion?
Yeah, so let's
just
just move
going,
forward.
you have this list,
Yeah.
this printed out list?
Yeah.
Can we just go through the high-level goals really quickly and say how they map to these others before we go through the action items on them?
Yeah.
Because that might make it easier as
Can we-
we're going through.
Can I, if I may, can we just have a moment to read this?
Sure.
This is like a multi-page document
Yeah.
we just were
I mean,
presented.
yeah,
I would just like to read through it before we start talking
Well,
about
I
it.
think that's sort of what Mark is suggesting, is we just go through it quickly and just talk about the headings to see if there's stuff that you feel is missing or that's miscategorized or,
Okay.
but if you want to take a few minutes and just read, that's fine with me as well. Whatever you're comfortable with is cool.
Matthew, they got the chopped off printing, that box.
How-
I'm looking
how
at the
much?
Word document, and I'm just trying to figure out how to squeeze that in.
Oh, maybe you need to switch it to like landscape.
Oh, it did
How much
copy
stuff
that.
got chopped off, like words or whole sections
see.
or?
Mark's call.
You scroll up, I'll tell you.
Which one, oh,
The first box. So, like, the first box, everything to the right of anything.
so just this much here.
Yeah, everything,
Okay.
so like the last inch.
Yeah, it's not even, we can almost figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a half a word.
Yeah.
We're missing. It's okay. We'll be able to fill in that. Just out of curiosity, when this idea originate goals in general? Is the select board always done goals?
As long as I've been on. And
Makes
it's,
sense, I mean.
it's always been like a big pillars that were, anything that we do should be in some way, shape, or form supporting the goals that we've assigned, to the board for the town, so it's, much of it is aligned with the master plan.
This
Many of
year-
the goals over the last several years have been aligned with the master plan. Pardon?
And this year more so with management, because I don't think we've ever did what we just did, right?
We have done some interaction with management, not to the level that we did this year, though.
I think that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do the switch, is it felt like the master plan categories were constricting a little bit, because there were a lot of things in that department head meeting especially, and in the retreat, that didn't really fit into the categories that were in the master plan. The master plan is obviously very much about town development, but there was a lot of stuff that came out about staffing and,
Well, you wouldn't see it.
roles and responsibilities that that wasn't in the master plan.
Well, staffing's part of the master plan.
Administrative is, yeah,
Yeah, there's categories that
town government.
talk about that.
So, okay.
All right, so go ahead, because
Okay,
this is
all
going
right.
to take me forever.
So
just go ahead.
I'm just going to start by reviewing the first one, for example. So administrative items from the select board and department heads. The calendar, which Cindy, you have sent us a draft version of it. Revive the calendar to include everything mentioned in the goals matrix and other things we haven't thought of, like HCA payments, budget process, the budget calendar, town meeting warrants. And I would like very much to have some kind of interactive shared calendar so we can have these dates and see them and include them in the packet. To your point earlier, which is that a lot of these things happen and we sort of, we don't keep track of things and look ahead to the next month, see what we need to deal with.
Right.
So,
it's-
yeah, go ahead.
So we're really going to revise the calendar, because we have a calendar.
And also, well, I want to revive it and also find a way to share it with all of us that we can see it and included in the packet, or at least a page of it.
Personally, I think it should be included in every packet.
Yeah,
At the
okay.
beginning of it, as a reminder to us, just to keep us all on track, personally.
So again, I'm gonna work with Anthony for that,
That makes sense.
That's prescriptive. We should have a discussion around that. Is there anybody else that wants, this?
Well,
As the chair, you can't pick and choose and say, I'm gonna do this one, Cindy, you're gonna do that one.
it's my strong desire to own this category, to do these administrative items. I feel like I can get them done. I'm very invested in getting this sort of, I don't know what it's called, administrative stuff working properly for the board in order to make us more effective.
So I think the things that you're having here are effectively under the communication aspect on the other.
In the matrix? Okay.
That's just for reference, really.
I think, go ahead. You
I'm
said
just
something
trying to map them.
Okay. Both Diane and Michelle identified board and employee training.
That was actually something that we talked about at our last retreat,
Okay.
when I was chair, was implementing new board training, and it just never happened. So how are we gonna make that happen? Is that,
Who owns it?
I would own implementing it and work with Anthony and either Diane or Michelle to figure out the best way to go forward with it.
Diane Crory?
Yeah, I think so. Diane Corey mentioned that.
Not Dickerson.
No, Diane Corey mentioned the ethics training and the standard, the state requirements, and Michelle mentioned some of the other.
Well, and then I got the email today, the MSA free training for newly elected select board members.
Yeah.
This time of year, so I
Already
mean,
done,
it's-
why create the wheel?
Yeah.
Already done. why
right, it's
create
taking
the
place
wheel?
at Devon's in July. We're only gonna be 2 months into our terms. I think it might be great for everybody to go to, but, so that's the type of stuff, and that's free, so.
Yeah.
and Matthew, if you can just clarify, what do you mean by NHR in alignment with their goals? In
Oh,
alignment
well,
with who goals?
both Michelle and Diane Corey mentioned that when we had the department head meeting.
But in alignment with their goals, Diane and
Yeah,
Michelle's
yeah.
goals?
If you go back and look at that document,
Yeah,
They both mentioned
when you
it.
said their goals, I didn't know
Sorry.
if you meant our goals or if you meant their goals.
we need to do Anthony's performance goals. So I want to schedule a meeting for that and a process for that. We also need to adopt a written procedure for the.
Can we go back to that?
Yeah, sure.
His performance goals should be collective by the whole board, I feel. I don't
Yeah.
think it should be you having a meeting with
Oh,
Anthony.
no, I'm not saying, I'm just saying, like, I will be in charge
Responsible
of creating
for
the process. I'm not saying I'm going to do the goals.
All right, to create a process. Gotcha.
Scheduling a meeting to create the process.
It doesn't say process, so I'm going to add process in there.
That's fine. I'm going to put that in. We need to create a written procedure for the annual performance evaluation for Anthony, the chief of police, and the fire chief.
Yep.
That's under the same vein.
Yeah, I think so.
And you're going to work with Michelle on that?
Probably. I don't know, what do you think? Who else do you think would have?
In your
is-
packet this week is going to be our guide for evaluations, as well as the evaluation tools and everything that department has used, so that might be helpful when
Okay.
you get that tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
I mean,
Oh, for
I guess
Monday, yeah.
you know, there might be a conversation with Labor Council or with Donna Brewer about what we need to do legally to satisfy your contract or, you know, Matt's contract. I don't know, but those are the people I can think of that I would confer with.
Yeah, there's certain deadlines that need to be met.
Yeah.
In respect to that process. But I just think as far as like the forms that we use, that we've been using forever in the standard review process, certainly Michelle should be able to work with you on that, maybe in conjunction with Donna Brewer.
Yeah, good one. We talked about creating a policy for select board participation on other appointed boards and committees. I would suggest that I could draft a version that we can all discuss at an upcoming meeting.
Is that about not being chair?
Yeah, I mean, it
Something we
was
talked
about not being
Yeah.
chair,
Is
yeah.
that something that we all want to consider as a board? Like, I know we talked about it, Chuck wasn't present at that meeting.
Yeah.
It was something actually that I had proposed at a meeting, just based on personal experience, I feel we get too bogged down
Yeah.
with select board duties, and sometimes we just get it thrown at us to be chair because no one else wants to step up, so of course we're going to do that as leaders, right? But the other thing too is I think sometimes that people look to us and expect us to do that, to go into that role, and we
Absolutely.
we take over the committee, not meaning to take over the committee. So I don't even know if that's something that we want to consider, because we haven't talked about it as a group.
I don't think we can say do not do it, but I think we could say highly encourage others on the members to be the chair and that's what I think.
I think there's absolute value in having others step up to do it, but I do know that there's instances, I've been acting as the chair of the EDC because, number one, we haven't had a quorum, we've been able to organize, and the person that was the chair is no longer part of the board, so everybody, like you
Yeah.
said, looked to me, and I just
Right, 'cause-
posting the meetings and.
Right.
So again, I can draft a version of that, and we
It's at
can
least
all
for
discuss it.
discussion, it's fine.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
I think the intent is a good one.
Okay.
And then the same for, we talked about this at the retreat, access to town council. Like, let's, formalize that in some way. Like, what's the policy for select board members who want to access town council? Because we have one for town employees, we don't have one for select board members.
Just out of curiosity, what's it look like for for the employees? What is,
It has to go through Anthony.
okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
For any, even department heads, I think, have to go through Anthony to get to access town council, is that correct?
Yeah, they do, boards and committees.
And I'm not suggesting that we need to do that, but there was Anthony's comment about someone calling Donna Brewer to ask about his contract. And without my knowledge, I don't know if anyone else on the board knew about
No,
it.
didn't know anything about
So
it.
that's not cool. And so I'd like to
Yeah.
not have people do that.
Right.
Okay.
Reporting structure, again, something we talked about at the retreat. I think my first goal would be creating an org chart, and I think Mark and Cindy and I were on an email thread where we realized that none of the org charts that we have access to are accurate or current or even close.
They're so working on that, Matthew, honestly, if you look at that chart, there's a lot of detail in there. It's a big project. It's not as simple as it looks, just by
Yeah.
looking at our town code and our town website. We had tried to tackle this when Joe Layden was here, and Steve Annuity was at that point a town employee, and I remember sending it over to him, and he fired off many employees that were missed. And there's certain categories, like I think in one of the charts that you provided, it was actually an elected board. It wasn't an appointed board. So there's a lot of nuances there that need to be paid attention to.
I'm sorry, but I wonder if for our purposes, which is, go ahead.
No, that's what I was going to get
Yeah.
to. So what do we want to do with this chart? I mean, we could create multiple charts, like to Mark's point, do we want to have a chart that has reporting requirements in it? Do we want to have just a high-level chart, just for informational purposes? Like, what do we want to use the chart for?
My intention was to create the chart to help us formalize the TA areas of responsibility. So we know, even if we have the hiring authority for someone, Anthony is their day-to-day manager and supervisor, and they report through Anthony to us. Because that is the important, I think, distinction on, like, how we clarify what Anthony's day-to-day responsibilities are and where the board should get involved or not.
So that is written in the town code already. So that would definitely be useful, because it's some of the, and it's interesting too, like some of the appointments and hirings are joint. They're not solely Anthony's responsibility, so what do you do in that situation?
So I think that would be,
So-
that's why I want to write down the next one, which is draft areas of responsibility for the board. So regardless of what the bylaws say about who that person officially reports to or who manages it, we need to understand what actually happens day to day and agree on it.
Right.
That was my, and that definitely came out of our retreat as something we discussed.
Yeah, no, it did.
I mean, at the
And
end,
what you mean by areas of responsibility will be interesting.
Well, I guess, yeah, that is I guess that's a slightly loaded, but I think what it really comes down to is the policy says day-to-day operation is Anthony's domain. What does that constitute? If we go talk to a town employee, is that interfering with the day-to-day operation?
Right.
In some cases, maybe, in some cases, yes, in some cases, no.
Right. I totally agree that needs to be more defined.
Okay.
I just don't want to personally get us into a situation where a town employee feels that they can't come to the select board about anything, because we've had in a situation in the past, which you're aware of, where we had a town employee that was accused of something, that they went to administrative staff and were kind of put off. It wasn't until they came to Chuck and myself and shared that situation with us that we opened Pandora's box and found a much deeper issue.
So I think that goes both ways, right? So there's, in this, that whether town employees can come to the select board members, but it's also whether the select board members go to town employees, right?
Right.
So it needs to be both policies
Yeah.
kind of need to follow.
Right, I guess my point, and I totally, and we touched on it at the retreat, Chuck calls an employee, Matthew calls an employee, Gary calls an employee, Anthony calls an employee, right? We all call for different reasons. Now the employee's like, well, what am I supposed to do? Trying to get away from that, but as far as, I just don't want to ever have an employee feel like they can't contact the select board about something,
Okay.
that's all.
We can absolutely include that. Okay, so I found a draft code of conduct, which I will hand out to you, because I never know what's deliberative over
As far as the
email.
select board? code of
What's that?
conduct?
Yeah, select board code of conduct. And again, like, you don't have to read this now. We can review it at a future meeting, but I thought it would be a good start. Anthony, do you want a copy?
Thank you.
When you say found it,
It was like, I looked at like 10 different
handbook?
towns, and they all had the same language.
I think it's out of the states.
Yeah, it could be.
Is it in the new
Code of
employee
conduct.
handbook, though?
It's from the MSA.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
yeah. I did see a code of conduct, that's.
I
found
thought
a
we
PDF
updated that when
online.
we updated the employee policies and procedures through the whole
We
recent
could have.
exercise.
Except that when we discussed at the retreat about this, I think that one thing Jeffrey said was like, we'll make it more front and center. So I guess
Yeah.
I was hoping to have a more formal or strong language in it.
I mean, this is a great document for members to know what's expected, but at the end of the day, it's the teeth if somebody just wants to go off the rails and
We had that
violate.
conversation, yeah.
Right, but I think this is a great document if we actually enforce it as a board, to some degree.
And then for policy and bylaw review, we've been talking about doing that since I started. And I guess what I realized as I was going through this was I don't think that this board is the right people to review the policies of the town. I don't think that we're the experts in it. I'm not sure that it's, I think that we need to find someone who's a professional at reviewing policies and bylaws to give us a comprehensive review.
Right. But to what end, though?
Well-
What are you looking for?
Well, so the original intent, I understand, was to make sure that rationalize them and make sure that they're consistent, not only with state law, but consistent with each other, consistent with the policies that we've written.
Right, so,
Laws change, so.
no, and so when Anthony was actually the assistant town administrator, it was a brilliant idea. We sent them out to the town employees, and I think we touched upon it during the retreat when I reminded Matt Pinard that, hey, he made a bunch of comments. He knew off the bat what was outdated. Steve and Udi did too. And all their comments are in red line. We don't need to hire somebody to give us that feedback. We already have a
have
lot
the
of it.
managers.
Okay,
But
I mean-
I personally, and I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
And I'm not dismissing the idea at all, but I would like us to complete the process that we started. We had brought in an intern to go through them. We've made a lot of leeway, we just haven't brought it all together. I'm just going to pick on, Chief Pinard for a second. If he goes through those bylaws and reads his notes, there's a lot of them that are just going to go away. We don't need to pay somebody that's going to take a look at those when we already know the answer. Do you know
Okay.
what I mean?
If you think that, so are you going to do that? I mean, who's going to take all of those comments, make sure that everyone is right?
If I may, when I was on school committee, Darrell Baker, we had goals as well, and we had champions. And Darrell Baker there was a subcommittee, it was usually two of us, but Darrell Baker carried the water. Because I was on the policy committee for a while, and I went to a bunch of meetings, and he didn't need me, frankly. He had a process, and he had a very deliberative way of checking our policies against the Mass
Yeah.
School Committees Association policies, and Mass General Law, and he spent a couple of hours every Sunday going over however many policies he could go through. It is something that one of us would have to champion, one of us would have to own it, and take a look like that. I agree, I don't think we need to hire anybody, I think a lot of the work's been done by our staff. I'd actually say that we can push that back on department heads, but I also think when it comes to the org chart, Steve was a great resource, but
Yeah,
there's
he was
others,
amazing.
every single department head kind of knows their structure.
Okay.
So I think we need to include
That's good.
department
That's
heads
a good
on that
call.
one as well.
I'm gonna, you know.
Right. And that was one, like, I think I said it during the retreat, one of my main goals this year is to straighten out the policies and spearhead that whole initiative.
So-
It's not
okay.
sexy, it's not fun, Darrell is just
No.
wired a certain way, and he was
We
great
tried
at
to do
it.
that for the library in the past year, and
It's very hard.
I mean, I
it's
just-
really hard to make them, go through them and make them all consistent and go through them all.
Right, it's not easy.
Well, I mean, so I guess, here's what I'm saying. Do you want to do it? Because I want to have somebody take the lead on it.
And honestly, Matthew, that's like one of the only things I want to
Okay,
do this year.
I'm going to put you on it then.
I mean, no, I have another idea that I'll talk to you guys.
This paper doesn't say
No,
that.
that I'll talk to you guys about, but, no, that's really one of my main goals.
Okay.
And at least get as far as we can with it.
It's something that you've done a fair amount of work, you're the one that spearheaded bringing in
We brought in
Jess.
Jessica,
Yeah,
and she actually
Peterson.
just passed the bar.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, so,
So we should actually, maybe, Anthony, let's send her a note on our behalf.
oh, we should do
Congratulate her.
that, yeah,
Okay.
she's great.
So I just have a question then, should you be the champion of this whole goal, or should Matthew still be?
Oh, I
The
can
captain.
I can add Cindy, make Cindy the captain, and I can just do the code of conduct.
Yeah.
Completely fine.
You could be like the third line center.
Yeah, yeah, utility infielder. Okay, communications. Move on to that. So Mark, make the website interactive was, I think you put, and my comment is like, that's not specific enough. And so, happy to discuss in more detail, same for more updates to the residents, like, yes, but how? And if you want to take the lead on investigating the best ways to do that, I think that's a great goal.
Okay,
But, I mean, is that something you're interested in?
yeah.
Okay.
And Nancy Glengross actually had some great suggestions during our department head meeting about changes she was planning to make to the website. I suggest anybody that champions that goal is to definitely work with her on that, because she had some specific examples that I think would be helpful.
Maybe something we should do, Anthony, is it sounded like at the department head meeting, the training was made available to people, and some people took advantage of it and some people didn't. Maybe if it's part of their job description and they're held accountable, it's part of their performance evaluation,
For updating
updating their part of the website. I mean, you own this.
Oh,
This
yeah,
is
yeah.
your department. Let the public know what's going on in XYZ
It
department.
will be, Chuck.
Yeah, IT's a reality now.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
accountability is all we need to do, is add that as part of their job description, and they're evaluated on it, and
Yeah, no, it's-
what's measured and evaluated tends to get done.
You must have been looking over my shoulder, it's already included.
I got a mirror behind you.
Do we want to add that to this document as a goal? Because I'm not sure, I don't know if that's a select board goal, or if Anthony, you're
I
going to
think
take
it
care of
ties
putting it
into
in.
this particular goal as far as communication, as far as the website is concerned.
That, you know what, that's probably a great goal for Anthony,
Yeah.
is to integrate
Okay.
that into each department job description, work with Michelle on that,
It's-
or however
it's
you do
not
that.
in the- It's not necessarily job.
It's in the
description.
performance
It's in the
standards.
performance standards set forth.
One of the objectives.
One of their
One of your
objectives.
performance
Okay,
goals.
yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, great. And then improved communication plan and mechanism with residents. Again, a little bit general. I don't know, did you put that one in, Chuck?
What was it?
Improve communication plans and mechanisms with residents.
I'll take that too.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I think
This, honestly, Anthony, I would actually put as needed almost, because that, right? You can either say twice a year, you have to make that measurable, right?
Yeah,
Talking, it's either, you know what I mean? Once a year, twice a year, or as needed. That's the accountability piece.
right.
Anyway, sorry.
Yep.
You're going to be the captain of this one, Mark, because you're already signed up. Develop an education introduction for new residents about our form of government. And this was, Cindy, this is something that you had suggested?
Right, and Anthony had the awesome suggestion, and he's actually mentioned this in the past, about the
Citizen.
Citizen Academy.
Yeah.
There's something
We-
going on this today, so there's a group of people getting together to figure this out on their own, so,
Really?
really.
Oh,
To figure out the Citizen Academy on their own?
No, to figure out how to get residents and more information when they move to town.
Are they going to share that with us?
I hope so.
This group?
I will,
This-
I'm gonna put your name on this, and you're gonna have you reach out to them?
okay.
So it's
It's like
just,
the welcome wagon. You know,
Yeah, there used to be a packet.
Right.
Like when we moved to town, you got,
Can-
you know, how to get a library card and what all the services were.
Beach
So I-
permit. how
They're
to get a
looking to
beach
revive
permit.
something like that.
I actually have a story. So my mother's in a book club, and she's still in the book club with the original group of women that she joined the book club with. And I asked her, I go, how did you get involved with that club? When she moved to Littleton, back in, I think I was 3 years old, there was a welcome wagon, and that's how she met this group of women, and they started a book club, and they've been doing it ever since. So it used to really, it was a thing. It'd be wonderful
How many
if we
years
could
ago was
revive that.
You could do a once a year, you know, we do third Thursdays, I mean, you could do actually a once a year in the fall, new resident barbecue or celebration at Fay Park or wherever, just to kind of, with those, to meet the town department
So
heads and how to
that,
get a beach permit and how to do all these, get a
Right.
packet, I mean, all these
how to be
things.
part of Littleton.
well, right, which is a great idea. So that's one thing, if there's a group coming together for that, but I think the Citizens Academy is another great idea. I have no idea what that would look like, but I know, Anthony, that you had mentioned that. I think that would be great.
Yeah, so what's the action item on that? Do we have to create it? Do we have to
What does that entail?
opt into it? Like, yeah, I mean,
Hire staff
Have you been in a,
first.
yeah, have you been in a town where you've seen it? I mean,
Oh, yeah, we did it, I did it in Wenham. Yeah. So it's just, it's
recreating the wheel then.
it's actually pretty cool. It's like 14 weeks, 12 weeks.
Can
Yeah.
you do it virtual? Or do they have to come in?
Well, it was, you could probably do some parts of it virtual, but it was neat, because like when they went to the fire department had to let them try on bunker gear and see the hoses and kind of set it up and show them what they have to do, and ran them through some stuff.
Can
I
they
think
go up in the
it was-
boom?
I don't know about,
Well,
let
so-
them go in
okay,
the
so-
boom.
We
Just-
got
Yeah, we
waivers.
have to get a couple of waving signatures of waivers if they're
so how
right.
would you have to spend a lot of time and effort to get that organized? Is there someone we can hire to do it? Because I,
Who operated it?
Yeah, I don't want to add more to you.
So,
Collins
It was-
Center, was it
No,
MMA?
no, it was my Director of Administrative Services, which was like the Assistant Town Administrator in Wenham. In Lexington, they had a fellow, masters, in the master's program, a fellow that ran it. He's actually Rajan, who's the assistant in Boxborough right now. So he ran it. Just really coordinating and getting the department heads on board. It was something that I probably would look towards the assistant.
So 12 to
Yeah.
14 weeks, I'm just thinking of,
Might not even be
Practically in
fine.
my
I
family,
don't
I
even know
don't-
if
I
it's
can't
that.
imagine.
I don't know if it's that
That's a
long,
big
Chuck.
commitment.
No, I don't know if it's that long. It might have only been 8 weeks. I'm trying to think. That was probably too long. It's probably 8 weeks.
I think we go to the whole creep, crawl, walk, run thing. Let's start
Yeah.
creeping and crawling.
Yeah.
And see if we can do a couple of nights at the police station, the fire station, and the library. Just, welcome to Littleton.
Did you know?
Ask any question, yeah, did you know? Any question you have, bring it to this forum. Maybe we start out with that, and then we evolve into, and that helps you build up your staff and.
Yeah.
Yeah, then
We
the-
can,
The advanced stuff can be like our form of government, because if you move anywhere here up from not the East Coast, you have no,
They have no idea.
no idea what our form of government is.
Would it be like, is it like every Saturday or?
no, they normally pick a night, like
Okay.
a Wednesday night, and they came, and it was usually, I don't know, hour.
Do you-
How well attended was it? How well attended was it?
Normally, they probably got about, depending on the community, one was small, but we probably got about 12 to 15.
Okay.
That's good.
Lexington would get
More.
more.
But those would be the people who would eventually end up getting involved, right?
Yeah, you know what it was? It was, we actually recruited a lot of people to get boards and committees, because
That's-
once, you know,
Great
we
idea.
told them about all the form of government, right? And every department kind of ran through, had a PowerPoint present, talked to them, what do we do, how do we do it?
I think we've all been to a college tour with a kid, and you have that arena day where all of the clubs and
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, it's like that.
organizations are out there saying.
That's why I mentioned you
Join
could
our
almost
group,
do it
join
It's
in
our
a
like,
day.
yeah, it's like an
Barbecue.
open house. It's
So-
like they do with the
Right.
tech.
So would this be
Right.
something that you would wait until you had an ATA to start organizing? Which, and I'm fine putting this off, and like, it's a great idea, but we can't do everything on this list.
Yeah, it's normally you run it, or like right in September, and it gets over before like
The holidays.
the holidays.
like, so
yeah,
after school
because then it
starts,
gets a little
basically,
cold
okay.
when you go outside and so forth. But yeah, we can try to shoot for it in September. If not, maybe it's something that we shoot for the spring.
Okay.
What do you,
I was gonna suggest it would be a good thing to do in April when you're getting ready to reappoint people to boards.
Well, but we're kind of
Get ready for
busy.
town meeting.
Yeah, we're kind of busy.
so
during
how,
that period of
what do you
time.
guys think about doing an open house?
For.
I was just thinking about
Like
the
at town
tech,
hall?
like Joe, my son wanted to go to tech. We went to an
So
open
you
house
just
at the tech.
take a day, kind of shut down for.
Well, it
open
was a
house.
night thing, so we went there, and we went to each shop.
Plumbing, you go to electrical,
You
you
go
go
to
to
each
graphics,
shop,
go to
and you
vet.
just walked, and you just went in to whatever random shop you wanted to
15
go in,
minutes
and
or
there
whatever.
was people going to the TA's office.
We
There's
could-
Anthony, he would just, hi, and nice to meet you.
We could actually,
A fire engineer,
once,
police.
hopefully the hours comes before the board, what I want to try to coordinate, and maybe that could be something if we start saying July with the new hours, that the first Monday that we do it, at the late night, that could just be,
The late night.
hey, the late night, this is our new hours, come on in, stop by, and
And they just, and everybody's there, like they would come to 103, we'd all be here, and they could just meet people. Tell them what we, and it doesn't, it's quick, and it's kind of just like an in and out, they can leave when they want to leave, and maybe start with that, something like that. And then get into the Citizens Academy piece of it.
yep.
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
I think it needs to be more than town hall, though, because you need to. you
Well,
want to have
police,
someone
fire,
police,
DPW.
Well, you could have them
Shuttle,
here.
they could be here.
Yeah, I don't think
The
the people
parking
are
lot.
gonna drive around, right? Like,
No, yeah,
could
they
be
could
in the
definitely,
parking
they could be
lot,
in the multipurpose room, or they could be
Fire.
somewhere.
yeah. That would be actually, that would be kind of nice if we had a fire cruiser and, you know,
Yeah.
no jack and all that stuff. Okay, let's move on. So I had the idea, based on the department heads of like communication professional, it feels like there were several things that were mentioned. I think that communication with residents is something that people said over and over. The website is another one. It strikes me that somebody would be so psyched to work remotely, even if it was half-time, as a communications manager for the town. So, you know, social media stuff, well, I don't know, we have a PR firm, but I don't know how we pay them. Is it, you know, are they on retainer? Is it every time we do something with them, we pay?
It's budgeted.
But they're not doing sort of community engagement
reactive.
stuff, right?
It's reactive.
Yeah,
Is it
instead of
almost, are you talking
proactive, yeah.
intern type stuff? or it's just-
Well, I think we need a professional, and I don't think that it would break the bank, and I think it could be someone who could work remotely, honestly.
Be a
So
great
we could-
part-time job.
Yeah, we could find someone who was willing to do it, and we could even try them out for a quarter or something and see whether it's worth it. This is not a well-baked idea, like it's just the first thing, but we could investigate it if people think
I
that
think
it's
that's the
worthwhile.
idea, is we do investigate it. We take a look at, our next ATA may have just some
There you go. yeah,
killer,
right?
killer skills in communication,
Okay.
and, you know, where they're
Right.
tweeting stuff out all the time, and they're updating the website, and
Right.
who knows? We just don't know who the players are gonna be at this point.
I think it-
Or frankly, Anthony's administrative assistant, our administrative
okay.
assistant.
Yeah.
So I
Okay.
appreciate you saying that it's not fully baked, but I think that we can investigate it, find out what other communities are doing, because I'm sure there are some communities, larger communities for sure, that have somebody who owns this.
Right.
You also have to decide what the scope of this is. I mean, does it go to the school department too?
I mean, they do a good job with their
Like
site.
water.
Police does a good job with they have their own. Who's maintaining all that stuff?
I don't know who posts for the. for
Like,
the
I see,
Twitter
I know when there's a
account.
fire, I know when there's an engine downtown. It comes up on all the
I
social
think
media.
it gets much deeper than that, like as far as like town projects and things. I'm just going to use 550 King Street for an example. Like Anthony Houston was saying, we need to move that project to the homepage of the website so people know where to get going on, things like that. But then it's other smaller things too. It is with regard to the,
Like Glamorous Jane today even.
like the Glamorous Jane opening. I actually had drafted a newsletter when I first got on the board. We posted it one time. It was a lot of
Yeah,
work.
a newsletter, that's a great example.
Yeah, and it was really cool, and all the board members approved it, and we sent it out. I don't know how we sent it out. But it was just basically talking about not just town-related things. It was more like a social kind of calendar. I mean,
It was an engagement tool. It was
it was an
good.
engagement tool. I forget what else was going on at the time, but it wasn't just strictly boring town stuff. It was interesting things about different groups.
Going back to our meeting last week with department heads, I know Alicia mentioned it, and Sean mentioned it, I think Anthony brought it up, and a couple others, as far as us going to OpenGov or ClearGov. OpenGov?
OpenGov, yes.
I know, I haven't seen all of their modules, but I know ClearGov has stuff where you can put projects on there, and there can be updates on it, and what votes are coming up, and so people can go and find out what's going on with the senior center, what's going on with 550 King Street, what's going on with the sewer project, so all that information is on there, and depending upon which one of those systems we are engaged with, you can see, okay, we voted in May of whatever to change this and fund this, and this is where the funding is going, and we've broken ground here.
Right.
So it's, that kind of openness and transparency is, I
Yeah.
think, is important, and Anthony, I know ClearGov does it, but I think OpenGov does it as well, right? I know they're more on the administrative ERP, day-to-day municipal governing side, but I do believe they have some
Yeah,
component.
we asked, Alicia and I were talking about this, we're gonna do a demo with them again, just to see how deep that they
Good.
do get into it, both of them, and ClearGov too, and take another
Because they call me
closer.
like every week.
So, I want to,
Alicia's number.
so does someone want, I will take this one and do research. I think there's some work to be done to sort of assemble all the needs and possible sources of information and synthesize some kind of plan. And I will do that unless someone else feels that like they really want to swipe at it.
So are we on develop, educate, and introduction for new residents?
No, we're on the original plan here was create a staffing a position for a communications professional.
Okay, all right.
And then I put underneath that, what are other communities doing? What's the scope? Like, does it include other town departments? How does it interact with OpenGov? So does anybody feel like they desperately want to have this?
I don't desperately want to have it, but I will help out.
Okay.
Is
Or I will
Anthony
do
going
it
to take the
either way.
previous one?
Well, so that one I just had as ATA, like Assistant Town Administrator question
Oh,
mark.
okay, gotcha.
Because I don't know when we will be able to really do that.
Right.
Like the open, okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
So can I suggest we just leave it as Anthony and then he can delegate?
Sure, but I don't want to make it a done deal, right?
We don't
Like,
have a due date for it,
We
so it
don't,
doesn't
well, we
matter.
don't have due date yet for anything, so. And then the last one is, that department meeting was great. Like, that was really valuable. I want to do that twice a year. Do you think that's okay, Anthony? Sure.
I
Okay.
put the same thing down.
Yeah.
I put the same thing in mind, and I
Yeah.
think that's important that we do it now to identify the goals before we do our goals, and then we check in
January.
6 months and say,
Exactly.
where are you at? How have we done?
Yep,
Right,
Yeah,
and we
good
can
check.
incorporate that into the calendar that Matthew's going to work on.
perfect. Short-term staffing needs, compensation grid. I just put Gary as the owner because you're the default.
Yeah, I
HR
think
person.
part of that, too, is some of the benefit side, too, and not to interfere with HR, but I had conversation about these, being able to recognize employees, some type of a recognition program where, whether there's a pot of money put aside at the beginning of the year, that if a significant event that an employee helps with, modernization, something, or could be police, fire, someone does something outstanding where an on-the-spot cash award for whatever amount can be given. And I don't know how far crazy that is with municipalities, but we're not talking about a ton of money here, but, if it's $100 here, $100 there for just recognizing something.
Amazon gift card or something like that.
Yeah, I just don't know if there's anything available like that we're authorized to
We
create.
just did that for Park and Rec, right? For going above and beyond for Tim.
Well, that wasn't going above and beyond, it was taking on another duty.
Right, so that kind of reminded me, just when someone comes up with a great idea on our website, and they got a new way to streamline a process, I mean, some of that work, it would be nice to be able to, for a manager, and maybe it could be even, if there were a lot of these things going on, when your department head meetings, you guys would be the screening, just decide who gets something, if it's quarterly or whatever, I don't know. I was just trying to see
Does
if
it have
there's
to
a,
involve money?
I'm just trying to think how else you could you could do, you guys already kind of recognize employees, Employee recognition is really where I'm at.
So let's, okay, yeah, I don't want to get too much into.
No, but so I get the
Let's-
grid.
let's add that
Grid's
in.
most important.
Okay, so,
I agree.
Okay, so when is it going to be done, and who's, I mean, can I? put
This,
it-
this has to be done this year.
And can I make you like just the person who owns the
Yes.
communication with the rest of the board on that?
Yes.
Because that's been active since I started.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Since
And
I was
then-
Personnel board.
So,
9 years ago?
We-
That's
well-
terrifying.
yeah, I mean, we've done it randomly, like we made Amy Green a certificate when she had gotten us that grant for the Brown property. We
Yeah.
made her a certificate from the select board and
Recognition,
framed it.
yeah.
We gave her some recognition, but just.
No
it's-
formalized, like.
But there's no
program.
formalized process.
So, my professional career, we have something that's literally built into our Outlook, where we can recognize an employee who's gone above and beyond, and there's merit, and everybody gets, points. And,
Yeah, we have that at
So
my
there's,
office
there's
too.
ways to do that, and you can cash in the points for rewards and that kind of thing. I don't think we're at that point in this organization,
Yeah.
but I love the idea of being able to empower our department heads, or anyone, really.
Yeah, really, it's
to-
all
to-
employees, what I was
Yeah,
saying, yeah.
to say, I really appreciate so-and-so, and,
Yeah, for
I
going
don't-
above,
I don't-
yeah.
And sometimes they come up
Skeptic
with
and-
creative ideas that actually save the town money. Things like that are huge.
Right.
Huge.
So, yeah, does someone want to own that and like try to come up with a plan? Or do we want to just put this on a back burner?
yeah, I don't know how much on the front burner it should be, but
Okay.
I can.
Can you take that one, Chuck?
Sure.
Just, okay. And then the last one is,
Just employee recognition.
employee, I'll send this out. It
/merit.
says, employee recognition program, empower department heads to reward an employee for going above.
Okay.
Staffing requests from department heads, things that came out of our department head meeting, which I think were common. Shared business manager was something I heard. The communication professional I mentioned. The grant writer could be full remote, and a facilities director. So I had ascribed this to Anthony, as his domain is trying to figure out with Alicia and the department heads what is in the best interest of the town.
Add HR in there as well with the schools, because I know that's something Anthony and Michelle have been working on with.
Oh,
Superintendent Clenching.
HR assistant with schools.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we approved, I think, 19 hours for HR, and I think that we could justify a full-time position there potentially, and
This could gobble up
by them going out, trying to help get support. Actually, Jeff Nutting even said something about sharing those resources
Yep.
with the school department when he's in Franklin. I mean, it's a lot bigger government and a lot bigger community, but
So Anthony, is this something that you're going to do anyway? I mean, in other words, is this already on your list of things that you're looking at?
Well, yeah, some of this stuff would be involved in the budget process anyways, and there'll be expansion requests from departments, so, yeah.
Okay.
So are we talking about these things for, like, coming for funding for fall town meeting, or are we talking, I'm just asking
I
what our
don't
due
know.
date
I think
is.
there, obviously, the facilities director, there's definitely conversation in this building about really, really needing it.
Right, so this is, like, if we're throwing a date and we're expecting some answer on what these are in September, October.
Before we go to the next town meeting?
And then we'll decide, which ones to fund
Okay.
when, right?
Makes a lot of sense. Long-range fiscal plan, Mark, develop a 3 to 5 year hiring or operational plan.
I think that kind of goes with what, some of the stuff we were just talking about partially too, right? We just went through the department head meetings and everyone said, we need all these people, but we don't really have a plan on how we were funding or hiring or when, right? So
So how do we create that plan? Who creates it? Do we even know?
I mean,
Because I don't.
It has to rest in the manager's hands, which it currently does, to understand that they.
The needs of their department.
Right. That's part of the process. The
Part
other
of
side
the
is.
Budget process.
It definitely is. But also, you
I-
recognize.
Again, this isn't something that is traditionally done in municipal government. So I note that there's things that happen in the private sector. This would be really low priority, in my opinion.
Yeah, okay.
I said that the other night, and
Yeah.
I'll continue to
I
say
mean,
it.
I hear you. Yeah, okay. Capital Projects Priority Pipeline, was that you, Mark, that wrote that one?
We already have that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have
Okay.
that.
I'm not sure, so I put it in, I don't remember who wrote it, but an accurate budget calendar. This came out of the fact, I think Cindy mentioned that we have 3 different budget calendars that don't match.
Right, so according to our financial policies, there's a process that we need to go through with FinCom, with our finance, TA, FinCom, this board, and our finance group
Okay,
to revise that budget calendar. We're supposed to review it, how did it work, what could be better, blah, blah, blah.
okay.
But there are 3 different versions, so we need to come up with one version, but that's more along the lines of a joint meeting.
It's usually
Kathy, to have-
July or August.
To have that discussion, well, we're supposed to do it at the end of the budget cycle, so we're kind of probably past due on that. We should probably do it before we enter into the new budget
Yeah.
cycle.
So FinCom, the treasurer and,
Anthony and this
Financial-
board.
okay.
Yeah, so we're supposed to have a meeting to talk about that, according to our financial
okay, I'm going to put that on
policies.
Anthony just to schedule the meeting.
Okay.
I mean, the skeleton of it's
Yeah,
done.
okay, yeah, I'm sure it is. I
Won't
just
take a
think,
lot of work.
I just want to make sure that we have it
It shouldn't
accurate,
take
yeah.
a lot of work, right?
Calendar process, so we actually talked about this already. Calendar process for monitoring HCA requirements, and then create a policy for collecting fees and delinquent taxes. Do we have, like I looked at the state website and there was someone who owed us, $160,000 or something, some business that owed us that much money. Do we have a policy and a process for collecting those? I've never even asked, and I was,
I'm sure we must have something.
Well, I mean,
don't know off the top of my head,
the
but-
fine part, the treasurer's responsibility is to set up
Yeah,
a plan.
I don't think that falls under.
We
Okay.
gotta stay in our lane.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I just was asking, because I didn't know.
I've asked.
They
I think
definitely
I'll-
have a mechanism
Okay.
that they need to follow for that process.
Which ends up falling back on tax title, right?
Well, before you
Yeah,
delete both of those,
Yeah.
for the HCA's, do we actually know what they all are? Are they all documented somewhere that people can find and we can?
They're on the website.
Everyone,
Under Select Board, HCA's.
Right, but my point, and I'm the one that raised that question, is, are we getting the money from our HCA's? Like, who's monitoring that? Can we get an accounting of our HCA's?
I don't know if anyone's looking at them. Would that be,
Because
again, would that be the
it's a host
treasurer?
community agreement with this board.
Yeah,
So what is our oversight? Are we, doing our due diligence?
that's a good one. Okay, so I would assume that the treasurer would try to collect it. But we don't know if it's on their radar to look through those agreements and see if they're updated.
Right, so I think that's something that we should at least, maybe part of our calendar, Matthew? Or just to make sure, or at least have a trigger that we should get a copy of those reportings. It's,
I mean, for a while there, we were getting, the sanctuary came in here a number of times and took a picture of the big check.
yeah,
So.
Okay.
That's
There's a-
something we can certainly, with COVID, we got away from that. And
Right.
we
I
can
just think-
restart that habit.
inviting them in.
That cadence.
Maybe as we revive the calendar, I can look through the HCA's on the site and make sure that those are in the calendar. How about that?
Yeah,
That I can do.
But as far as other things that the HCA states that, engage with other education or,
Right,
there are
right.
other things that are not monetary that, I don't know who would.
Those can be in the calendar too, and I think that's on the board, and that's probably on us to confirm whether or not those things have been completed, and then ask, if they haven't.
Or.
Go.
it could be like an
Somebody
HCA
from the management team.
update, annual HCA update or
Yeah.
something, yeah.
with the HCA, they should do a report back, right? And say what they've done.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, each person that were engaged in the HCA.
And reporting, okay. I'll add it to the calendar. Develop a long-term funding plan to build sidewalks throughout the town, prioritizing Shaker Lane.
We already do have that.
Where is it, do you know?
Yeah, it's with the highway department, it's our complete streets.
Oh, complete streets, okay. And
Yeah,
it-
there is a whole comprehensive plan that Chris Stoddard put together.
Yeah, we don't get to pick and choose where the first sidewalks go in.
Right,
There's
Why
a
is
whole-
that?
Because there's a state standard and.
Oh, really?
and it depends
Chapter
on
90,
funding,
yeah.
but yeah, we've
Okay.
got that, we have that whole plan.
And is that on the website?
It
Or
is.
it's available there, okay. This is something Amy brought up, increase CPC funding to address the growing conservation and open space needs.
Actually,
So,
I'm just going to push it back to the sidewalk thing again.
oh, sir,
We
yeah.
can certainly put more funding in there. If we say we want to have a 1/4 mile sidewalk every
We
year,
we can,
minimum.
we can like
We can-
allocate that in the budget.
We can
Yeah.
create that,
Right.
but there is a plan
It
currently
takes
in
money,
place.
yeah.
Okay.
Which I'm
CPC.
okay with, by the way.
Okay, that's good. CPC funding to address, CPC, increase the CPC funding. I think it was, the suggestion was go from 1% to 3%.
Yeah. This was definitely one of my goals. I think it was somebody else's too.
Yeah.
I love this idea,
Okay.
personally.
Yeah? What do we need to do?
But I
in
think
order-
we're required to spread it out equally throughout all the buckets. I don't think we can,
But we don't define that, though. They
the
do.
the CPC does. I think we can increase the allocation.
Yep, and then
but
they
the-
decide the bucket
The
percentage.
percentages are all established by the state, I think, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, we can
The minimums.
increase this, but I don't think that we can say, okay, we're going to increase this, but all that money's going to open space and conservation. It's
fine.
got to be spread out evenly.
fine.
I think it's a great idea.
Who would do that? Would we need is it bylaw?
I think it's a bylaw change, right, Anthony?
I think it's worth having a conversation, letting the public know instead of just arbitrarily.
So-
Well,
It's-
so
it's
that's
a-
a good point
there's a
too.
process.
You're raising their taxes, so there's
Probably a
there's
town
a
meeting though,
process,
right?
yeah.
Well, you're
there's a
not
town
necessarily
meeting.
We're not raising their
taxes.
taxes, we're
Town
just
meeting
taking
had to
more
vote.
out of their
You're right,
taxes.
yeah.
So you have a financial policy that states exactly where our money
Additional
goes, right?
Percentage on their taxes.
Well, it doesn't.
Oh, right, you're right.
So that changes our financial policy, because, when we're doing I know when FinCom does this, we have monies going to capital, operational, and then the CPC, that's written right in there as well, so.
Yeah, there's a whole section on the
know-
CPC and the financial policies.
So currently, we're at 1%, and I don't know other I'd love to see what other communities that are really rich in open space, what they're doing. Are they 1%, and are they relying on donations? How are they?
Well, it depends, some of the,
It helps slow growth, too, and that's something else that can be pitched. I mean, if you're really trying to talk about slowing growth a little bit in town, as far as residential growth especially, when a farm pops up for sale, it's nice to have that bucket of money there, so we don't have to sit here and go to town meeting for an override or whatever to purchase open space. It's already there. But I also know that Sean's office won't like this idea at all, because it does directly take money, from them. But-
Well, yeah.
but it's,
We're increasing instead of, to Anthony's point,
yeah,
and
the
I stand
CPC's
corrected.
adding,
Right, but people are more inclined, I think, in the pulse of this town, if they know where that money is going into open space and how we're doing it, or how, not just open space, but CPC in general, and what those buckets do for the town and how the big picture, I think people are more inclined to.
This requires a review of
So-
of our
huge.
financial
It's a huge-
policy.
So who would someone like to take the lead on this?
I'll take the lead.
Okay, on investigating this?
Yeah.
Okay, because it sounds like there's a lot of things to look into.
There's a
here
lot
again-
of benefits to it, but there's certainly a process we need to
That's good.
follow.
All right.
1 to 3% is a huge jump. I mean, you could go
Yeah.
1 to 1.5%.
Yeah, I mean,
Definitely
sure.
need to go
Just
1
to-
to 3.
to see.
All right. Senior tax relief, revamp the work-off program based on the EHS department goals, which is something that Liz mentioned Liz is already working on, I understand. Work with Jim Arciero on legislation, and find a balance between, that was Chuck, find a balance between senior tax relief and a stable tax rate. I'm not sure what that third one, is there an action item or a measurable thing there?
These were my goals, too. I definitely had
Okay.
these in my goals.
Yeah, so we've discussed it. So it's, Sudbury has a plan. Westford just passed the special act, Anthony, is that what Westford passed?
Yeah.
To change their tax to, one proposal that has been discussed, and Mr. Barbella from the Board of Assessors has put a ton of effort into it, and Paul and I have met with him quite a bit. He's actively trying to get Representative Arciero to bring a bill forward. It needs some tweaking, but just on a very high level, one of the proposals would be, if you've been in your house for X number of years, and
Paying taxes.
you're paying your taxes, you're paying them on time, you would, once you reach, I'm gonna use 70 years old, that's not, this is
Yeah,
not,
sure.
this is not a proposal, this is-
Yeah, yeah.
once you reach 70 years old, whatever your home is assessed at, when
It
you
stays
when
there
you are
forever and
approved,
ever, yeah.
it goes through an approval process, it stays at that assessed value unless and until you sell your home.
Okay.
And it's not selling, to a trust, to your family. There's a whole lot of moving parts that have to be addressed and ironed out, but something like that that gives relief. Now, that burden, if someone had a home that was assessed at 400,000, it goes up to 500,000, that $100,000 in assessed value has to be spread out amongst
Sure.
everybody else,
Yeah.
times however many homes, however many qualifying applicants we have. So that's what I'm talking about, is finding that delicate balance on the rest of the taxpayers that have to bear the burden.
So is this a state, this would have to be a state, this is a state thing that Arciero is proposing?
We would have to, it would have to be a legislative
Okay.
action.
Oh, just for Littleton, though?
Yes.
Okay.
That specific, that there's already, you just mentioned Sudbury, the Sudbury means test is one that already
It's
exists.
standard, yeah.
And that's the homework's been done, the legality's already been cleared.
Okay.
And that's one that, just another program that we could actually look into that, little different than,
Yeah,
but
we've got the dual tax rate, which muddies things a little
that
bit.
problem,
Okay.
it's a huge problem.
Right, yeah.
So how do we move forward on this goal? Like,
I'll continue that. I mean, I have put a lot of time and effort into
Okay.
it. If Gary wants to jump in, because like I said, he separately has done some legwork on this, so maybe the co-champion or something like that, just
okay.
to.
But this isn't like,
It's a big project.
this isn't like there's a specific deliverable. This is just like an ongoing pushing the elephant.
I would love for us to have some sort of draft legislation by year's end,
Okay.
by calendar year end.
I mean, in the work-off program, we're literally jumping right in both feet.
That's
Right now,
happening.
we're doing it. We are doing it
Yes.
right now, so you're going
To
to see
the,
it.
Okay,
to the
all right,
max.
okay.
To the max the state will allow.
We have to vote, but we're going to see it coming.
Better understand the impact of developments on the town and how they will affect future needs. That wasn't as specific enough for me to understand.
So I kind of put that down, but we talk like, if we just take like 550 King Street, people say that it's going to bring in all these extra tax revenues, but we haven't actually, to my knowledge, I haven't seen a projection on what that is, and we haven't actually said how much it's going to cost in extra services and things we have to provide. So when we actually go through these kind of projects, we should actually have a better financial model behind them. And I don't know how to go about defining that and who
Well,
that is.
based on other
but-
projects we know we've done in Littleton, we should have a rough,
Well, we haven't done a project like
not like that on that
550,
scope, but
yeah.
I'm saying when we move in a developed neighborhood, what did that just do to?
Well, we could also probably take a look at what impact 15 Great Road had, and there's X number of units there, and you can kind of multiply out, extrapolate and try to figure out, for the residential portion, we can expect approximately this impact to our revenue side. And because there are, I'm going to just throw a number, 300 residents at 15 Great Road, it increased our call volumes by this and this, and this is
And our
the
school
financial
load by
impact.
this
Exactly.
and
Yeah,
all
we-
of that stuff.
I
We
think-
don't,
We can do that.
We
to some
can.
degree.
And there's a-
It's
there's a-
not an
There's a lot of
exact
moving
science.
parts, though. You got police, fire, you've got the assessor's office,
Highway.
treasurer's office.
Schools. Miles to plow.
Schools, for sure.
So who does it? I guess that's the question. Like, who's in charge of assembling the information and gathering it and reporting it?
I think at the highest level, it's Kathy. I think it's the assessor. But
But
that's
she's
not
not-
fair to
she's-
her,
yeah.
but that's as far as what potential revenue we can expect.
If everything
Now, we
was
can-
built out in that facility as we think the plan
And
looks like,
she
what does that
already
equate
provided
to?
us
Yeah,
with
but
that.
that's just tax revenue. That has nothing to do with services, impact on
Well,
services,
services-
impact on water, impact
Correct.
on schools.
That's what I mean, at the highest level, just to figure out what the income could potentially
Mm-hmm.
be based upon the plans that we've got before us, which, to Cindy's point, she's provided us, this is what IBM was giving us at, in the heyday.
Yeah.
And this is what it is now, this is what we can expect.
Yeah.
So she's able to do that at a high level, but we're not gonna get what the
But police know, he knew.
both sides
So,
of the balance.
so-
The station area, right?
We did it through the stationary process, so honestly, what I think we do is we email the superintendent, we email the schools, we email fire, we email police, we
Yep,
email
they know.
highway. Hey, 550 King Street's coming in, if they build it out to the max, what impact is this gonna have on your department? They'll give us that information.
So are you saying that we need a process for every development, or are you just talking about, in this case, let's just deal with 550 King Street now and then, try to do it in the future?
I think if we had a process for 550, we could replicate it elsewhere, but I don't know that we have the process, or if we do have it, I don't know what it is, right? So we either, and I don't know that
I don't
anyone
think
really
we
I don't
does.
think there is really a process.
No.
Police he relies on
It's more
a
anecdotal.
population, certain amount of population, you're gonna have this many calls. It's
Yeah,
pretty
yeah,
close to.
But with the station area, we asked him, what did 15 Great Road do? And he was like, it didn't do anything. Like, all the calls are coming from, well, I don't want to pick on anybody, all the calls are coming from Pondside, right? I mean,
Specific
largely,
Right.
right? So,
You can say the same about schools to some degree.
yeah.
Yeah,
know,
schools,
they-
I think we put the onus on them to give us that information and just.
On the developer.
Or,
Well, the school department.
on this, we can just send out an email. Hey, select board's interested in this information, give it back to us.
To whichever stakeholder, yeah.
To
Would own that
whichever
information.
we can certainly do it with 550 King Street. I think if you have a smaller development coming in, it might be,
I mean,
They
we
might
have
come
that
back-
to some degree with single-family homes, but, sorry.
Right. But I also think like 550 King Street is different than like the Durkey property development, right?
Oh,
Because-
sure.
Because just the density and the
Right.
mixed use and everything else, there's a lot of, I don't know we've ever done something like 550, even
no.
in
not
any
to the
stretch, so
scale.
we
Not
don't
to the
really know.
scale. It's a
what
great.
any of the impacts
Yeah, so it
are,
might be
so-
like a one-time thing, Mark,
Yeah.
but we can certainly come up with a model, like a process.
So are you volunteering to collect all that information, Mark?
Sure.
All right, perfect.
Now,
Sweet.
you know what, were you surprised? I mean, I was surprised when I asked Lapoli companies when we went up for our visit, of all those units that he put
20
in.
kids.
I had asked, how
20
many
families.
children, what did this add to the school system? And it was
Yeah.
20.
It was like
20 school-aged children.
340 units and 20 school-aged children.
Yeah, and it was based on,
Yeah.
But he's
That's
got
not the
one and
di-
two-bedroom units there. Planning board's talking about having 10%
Potentially
be
three.
three-bedroom
So-
units.
so then
That's
this
a
is
big-
something we'll have to
That's a
look
big
into.
game
Okay.
changer.
That's what we need to look at 15 Great Road. That's what we need to look at Avalon. And when, again, going back to my days in the school committee, when 15 Great Road was coming in, I did a lot of research with the superintendent's office in Acton
And-
to say what was the impact of
Avalon.
And we anticipated we were going to get 82 students in the Littleton schools based upon what was being built at 15 Great Road. It
I
hasn't
remember
been-
Mike
hasn't
Feinella
been
had
anywhere
all
near
that information. He's got a great chart. Remember that?
Okay,
He
let's-
moved today, so.
Let's keep going.
Yeah,
Mark's got
okay.
it. Then this is from Chuck. Continue to review and adjust financial policies, OPEB.
Just, again, continue to pivot and make changes where we need to make it. If it makes sense to put more money towards OPEB, let's do it. If it makes sense right now, because we can use that funding, because we fund OPEB probably better than any other municipality.
we're probably
in
the
the state.
top 5 towns in the state.
Not 5%, 5 towns out of 351.
So is there is there an action item for the
So,
board here?
I mean, I think it's really not a goal for us. We should be reviewing financial policies, I think you brought it up at the retreat, annually.
Yeah, we're supposed to be doing it anyways.
Right.
As part of our annual fund. So we can throw that in.
Into the calendar.
Right, but.
It's a
but we're
huge-
supposed- It's a huge undertaking.
But I think we need to put everything on the table, like OPEB. We've just, I mean, Steve, God bless him, he's done a fantastic job of putting us in a good financial place. And as have a number of people who, Mr. Wilson, serving a number of years on FinCom and others. But, sometimes it might make sense not to fund OPEB to the level that we've always funded OPEB to, just so that we can remain number 5 in the state. Maybe that money is better used in another area.
Right.
Anthony, speak up if I'm completely out of whack.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. You're making sense. Yep.
And when, the danger in that, I guess, if you're talking about change to policy, I think flexibility in policy is a different thing. On a given year where we have something catastrophic or something huge that we needed money, then we draw it back to a more normal rate of, more in line with a lot of other communities. But to just change policy directly is a little more dangerous.
It's a three-headed monster. It's going to bite a lot of municipalities in the tail end.
It is, and I don't know,
And worse
I've
than
asked the
that.
question, I go, what does that mean? And a lot of them, Sean doesn't know, he goes, it might mean nothing. What's the
Yeah,
state gonna
right,
do?
right, yeah.
So, I don't know, but
That's cool.
we'll see.
Town facilities.
Add something.
I think there was actually an article that was out, Dean Mazzarella was on a meeting with him this morning, because Leominster's fully funded their pension system, but there was, I think Providence, he just said there was a recent article that they went out and borrowed to fully fund it.
Because the rate was so low.
I don't know, but I thought he said it was like 7% that they borrowed.
There's a few communities
I have to read the article, I haven't.
City of Providence, Rhode
There's a
Island.
couple
Yeah, that's
communities.
what I heard, so, yeah, I was gonna look that up, I just didn't have a chance today, but he brought it up at a meeting.
So on to town facilities. Revisit the facilities list from 10 years ago to better understand maintenance and repair replacement needs.
It's me again, right?
Is that for town hall or everything?
Everything. So we did this, PNBC was kind of the driving force behind this. Steve Moore was fantastic as one of the champions in fully understanding this and presenting it at a number of different meetings. Whenever a roof or something came up, Steve could speak to it because he knew this list intimately. I believe we paid money to have this assessment done, and again, unless and until we do fully fund and hire
A
somebody
facilities
as a
director.
facilities director.
This goes away when we
Absolutely
hire.
goes away.
That-
But one of those two things has to happen. If we don't take action on the facilities position, we need to take another look, because we can't have,
Well, I don't think you
we
need that.
can't
goal.
have a water heater in our brand-new fire station blowing up and having to be replaced immediately that's not covered by any kind of warranty.
So what's the select board goal on this one?
See, I don't know. I think if we're making the facilities director a goal, and we haven't put a date in there, but if we're saying we're gonna get this done this year, then we don't need that.
I'm okay with, yeah,
think
I was coming at the facilities director from a different angle there, that's all.
No, but it's a
But,
huge.
but I do think that whoever acts in that capacity may need for us to do this as well. That might be,
It would help them.
we'll let them decide, absolutely.
Okay.
If they come in and they know what their honey-do list is,
Yeah.
it's gonna be helpful.
So all the rest of them are around town hall, so complete the space needs assessment for town hall, but I think, Mark, you put this one in, but I think you meant, like, we do have a space needs assessment, right? You meant, like, revisit that in relation to all the stuff that's going on.
And inflation and, yeah. We probably need another, we don't need so much the needs assessment, we probably need another cost estimate type thing. And potentially revisit a little bit with the senior center project, right? How the senior center affects the plan.
Yeah. We know square footage cost right now, so that's simple.
Well, we know the cost for building, not
Yeah.
remodeling.
Yeah.
Determine cost and requirements for repairs, upgrades, or code compliance to town hall.
That kind of goes together, I think.
Yep. Investigate the cost to move, build, or equip a new town hall, and determine the priority of those options.
We're working on that collectively, right?
Yeah, that's our board.
Through a process we already talked about?
Well,
Or,
I don't know, actually, if any of these are specifically planned out to be done.
but didn't we talk about a process we were going to go through?
I think so, yes.
Okay.
So I think,
Recently?
yeah, I think the first two are something that I will champion, and the other, I think, are going to happen organically.
I am fine if you all agree that those last two are already happening, then I will move on.
Okay.
That's fine. I don't need to debate that. Agriculture. Rewrite the charter of the AgCom working group to ensure no conflict of interest created by commercial or for-profit farmers. I actually talked to Tom Harrington today, and the reason was, at our last orchard meeting, Will Pickard, who I respect and who I think is very smart, spoke about how giving a tax break to the person who is going into the orchard is not fair to the farmers in town. And he may be right, but that doesn't mean that that's in the town's best interest. That's definitely in his best interest to not give a tax break. And therefore, I think that's a conflict of interest with him. And I don't think it's fair to have him giving advice on the process for leasing the orchard. We need to look at that from the point of view of what's the best thing for the town and the orchard to do. And so I'm suggesting that we need to rewrite the charter in order to make sure that there's no conflict of interest on that. And I'm not sure exactly how to do that.
So, if I may just speak to that, I think Will was just bringing up a point as far as the select board goes, as we're going through lease negotiations, to just be cognizant of that. We have a very strong agricultural community in Littleton, and that we need to be mindful of that group when we're doing whatever we're doing with lease negotiations, with whoever we're going to get through the RFP process. I don't see that as a conflict of interest, do you
And
guys?
the intent of the, yeah, I don't know that there's a
Let's do-
charter or a mission or what it
There's
is.
there's a charter, yeah.
So the intent of that is, in fact, to have active members of our agricultural community so that they can
Provide that input.
provide that
Yeah.
insight
So-
and input from that perspective
I understand
specifically.
that, and there's absolutely value in having those people advise us, but when they start to make determinations about financial arrangements with land in town, it becomes a conflict
He
of
was not
interest.
making any determination.
He can't make a
He
determination.
can't, there's no RFP, there's no lease, we're not negotiating, they're not gonna be.
Well, but he was making suggestions about what we do with the lease. I mean, that was plain as day. He said, I don't think it's a good idea to do a tax break for the person who gets the,
What he-
no, he didn't say that. He was like, I'm concerned about it, or it's just,
Yeah, he-
it's disheartening to hear.
Well, the thing is, to begin, we don't have the RFP yet. We don't know who's responded yet. The deadline's the 17th.
Yep.
And I think I've made that pretty clear. This board is the board that's going to negotiate the lease. The AdCom working group, they can look at the RFPs, and they can definitely say, we like this one or we don't like that one.
There's no conflict there.
There's no conflict there, and there's certainly going to be no discussion about any financial arrangement with anybody except for through this board and the lessee. So I don't,
Yeah, we've got care, custody, and control
and,
of,
right, and at this point, the AdCom working group's pretty much done its job. We rewrote the RFP, we rewrote, we made suggestions for the lease agreement, which has draft watermarked all through it. Unless we don't get a viable candidate to take over the orchard, and we need to proceed with the AgCom work,
The Ag Lands working
the
group.
Ag Lands Working Group, there's going to be no more Ag Lands Working Group.
You think that can be dissolved then, basically?
There's going to be no other purpose
Okay.
to it. I mean, the
Until we
real,
get a new property.
the
that we need
intent
to
was
lease.
to bring this group together and say, okay, what should we be looking at just to, keep the orchard in somewhat good condition? What action items do we need to attend to, which was really great to have all of their input. And I personally appreciated Will's comment about just be mindful that there is a whole nother agricultural community in Littleton that, we shouldn't forget about. And because some people have said, well, can we give them a tax break for a year? And it's like, that's something that we need to talk about as a board, and it depends on who responds to the RFP. We don't know what we're going to get yet.
So let's say, okay, fine, but I think there are other ongoing things about the orchard and the other ag lands that we control in town that probably need to be overseen in an ongoing basis. So, is the maintenance plan for the orchard being upheld? Are they paying their rent? Are they maintaining the buildings? And my understanding from reading the charter of the Ag Lands Working Group is that was their domain, is they were like maintaining. Yeah, I can go find
The
the
orchard or the ag?
Ag Lands Working Group, not the orchard, the Ag
You're
Lands.
talking the agricultural.
Oh, when we formed it, though, I sent you guys the language when the board voted to create that committee. And it was it was subject to leases with town property that we own. It was just, it's not to oversee those properties. It was subject to the
So then
leases.
maybe we need to have another group that oversees the properties?
Or,
Honestly, Matthew, the only people that I think should be in charge of the orchard, based on the terms of our lease agreement, is the town administrator's office or his appointee.
And,
I
okay,
don't-
that's fine, as long,
And that's just me. That's something that this board needs to talk about as we go through the lease negotiation process. I don't think it's good for elected officials to be the conduit to oversee that orchard. That was part of the reason.
we obviously suck at it, so.
We're horrible at it.
that's fine.
It needs to be.
That's fine.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. As
Yeah.
long as someone is looking at the maintenance agreement every year and making sure that everything is being
And it needs to be
upheld.
added to our calendar.
So,
No, but,
Okay.
do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So my proposal was, as we go through like the licenses, like we do our annual license renewals with all our businesses in town, have the orchard be part of that process. Have them come in and just make sure that we're following our checks and balances. To me, it's not that complicated if we just use systems that we already have in place and apply it to the
Okay,
orchard.
so let's go back to the Ag Lands Working Group, not
Wait.
the orchard.
Just one second.
Yeah, go ahead.
We keep talking about three different things, and
I
I'm
know.
not sure.
Yeah.
You're calling something the Ag Lands Working Group. I don't know what that is.
I
I know
can
there's
tell
an
you- I can-
agricultural commission and this agricultural working
work-
group.
work.
I don't know what the Ag Lands Group is.
Oh, all right, sorry.
So could you just tell me what of these three we're
So-
talking about?
So, yeah, and I think I sent you guys that language when the board voted to create that committee. So they created an agricultural, AgCom working group,
Right.
which was a subsidiary of the Agricultural Commission.
Where is their charter?
but this is the agricultural working group, and you're calling.
Legal
it
Oh, I'm sorry, no,
Lands
there's
Working
there's
Group.
another one, hold on,
It's an
you're right, yep.
agricultural group.
Are you talking about the
Agricultural
Ag
Commission.
Commission?
No, Ag Lands, there was an Ag Lands Working Group.
Ag Commission.
I don't remember.
No, it was.
I don't ever recall.
I don't remember
it
an
was
ag lands working
work
group.
Is it Littleton, Colorado?
Fortunately, I've done that before, but no.
We had the Ag Commission and the Agricultural
I
Working
mean, I
Group.
think, to your point, Cindy, I think when you
Legal
don't have
references.
somebody
Matthew,
in
legal
charge
references.
of taking care
Is
of
that where it is?
such a huge
Okay.
piece of land.
An asset.
This is
Oh,
what
yes,
happens.
okay, here it is. To explore best practices, potential leases, and policies for town-owned agricultural land.
But Mark's point was, you were referring to it as the ag lands.
Sorry, my bad. It's the agricultural working
Working
group.
group.
Right.
There's only two groups.
There's, well,
AgCom?
and there's the orchard, but like, yes, there's AgCom and this working group.
Right,
So, this is where I see a problem, because if commercial farmers in town are exploring best practices on potential leases for town land, that is a conflict of interest, because the leases that they sign are going to be,
They're not signing.
They're not signing. the
well, but
We're a working group,
they are
but don't-
making
we Care, custody, and
suggestions.
control, but that's okay. We have other advisory groups that advise us.
I mean, that's dated 2013.
but Matthew, do you think this is a problem with what? With the orchard?
With people that have
Well,
their own farm.
yeah, I think it's a problem with the orchard. Yes, I do think it's a problem. Well, I think it's a problem with the orchard. Probably not now that it's done, but I think it's a problem
But he
in
didn't provide
general.
any input.
No.
Yeah, I don't see
It's a
that.
great-
Personally, if we're voting on which ones are actually goals and let's move forward and get this
Yeah,
done,
yeah.
we got a lot of lifting we gotta do.
Yeah.
I wouldn't die on the hill to make this a goal this year.
Yeah, I don't see the need for it.
Well, I think that we'll come to the groups later.
I mean, the other thing, the AgCom working, yeah, okay.
RFP and lease for the orchard is in progress. I'm going to put Cindy, I'm going to put you on that one, because you are driving that. Support, involve, consult AgCom as they present the needs of the farms in town.
I'll sign up for that.
Did you write that one down?
I have no idea, but
I
I'll
did.
sign up for it.
Gary did. Yeah, you talked about the whole history of farming.
Well, that was another one. He said,
Well,
create
that's-
one-page bios for each farmer.
Yeah, I wanted that too.
want-
And
you
they're
want
already
that one,
currently
Gary?
working on a video project.
Yeah, so, I mean, wouldn't you delegate that one-page thing to AgCom?
Yeah.
That seems like exactly the sort of thing that AgCom should do.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea.
Okay. Communicate with farmers to be in the conversation should they choose to take action with their farmland. I don't know who put that one in. Was that you?
Yeah.
And what was your?
So we've been talking for a number of years about the Cooper Farm became available. Why didn't we have a pool of money so we could have just exercised our right of first
Yeah.
refusal and purchased that? So we've talked about this trust that is, this,
A
Where's-
land trust,
what's that?
a land trust.
Yeah, land trust. So we've talked about making sure that this is something that was set up like in the 80s or something like that, right? Is that, that was the nice part of having Paul on the board, is he had he probably could have given us the exact town meeting vote, but, the institutional knowledge, but I think it's important for us to have the communication with those property owners that we mostly know, and just have that open dialogue with them so that we don't come in behind the eight ball, whether the land's in chapter or what have you. And I think I put something in there as well, in the matrix that's in there.
It's in the conservation section, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we'll get to that.
As far
too.
as,
Yeah.
as far as funding source, so the land trust really falls under that, but I think we need to make sure that we are communicating with those farmers. And Cindy, I think we talked about this a couple of years ago, about, I think Joe Knox actually was saying he's had some conversations with some of the farmers, with, I think, Will, I think with Jamie Cruz, with the Mathesons, about what is their future, what is their succession plan, and, whether or not they want to share that is up to them.
It's a delicate
It's
conversation.
extremely delicate, and, there's families involved in that kind of
This is also
thing.
something that both Amy and Alicia brought up, that we needed a plan. Like, if a farmland came up, do we have priorities in mind for which ones, any land comes up in town, priorities for, which ones the town's most likely to want to purchase?
We do, yeah.
And for different things. So this,
For
I think it
purpose.
all kind of goes together.
And we're going to get to that in the next big
That
section.
goes through the open space and
Yeah,
recreation.
there's a
plan.
specific
So
goal
I
that
think this
have.
is the same thing, it's just taking it
Yeah,
one step
okay.
further.
Okay.
I'll put this,
Instead of
I think I
having a
did.
plan.
You did
direct that to
duplicate it,
there
yeah,
as well,
okay,
yeah.
there was one other thing. Nope, okay. So conservation open space, revive or potentially recharter the open space plan committee. This is, basically what you were just talking about. Like, there is an open space plan committee, but at that department heads meeting, we heard from Park and Rec and from Conservation, and to some extent from DPW, all about like dealing with the open space in town, whether it's mowing it, whether it's, putting CRs on it, whether it's acquiring new stuff, right? And I think Amy and Kathy are working on the inventory of town land, but there's a bigger picture of, like you said, who's going to sell, and whether it's farmland or whether it's someone donating their what's been in the family for 50 years and they want to give it to conservation. There's a value in understanding the big picture and making sure that we're doing the right thing for each parcel. And I think that the Open Space Plan Committee is the closest thing that we have to that now, but the charter that it has doesn't quite match it because it's kind of focused on recreation.
We'll dissolve it and recharter it. I mean,
Right, so we have an open space and recreation plan.
Right.
And I think Alicia said she was interested in maybe redoing that plan, updating that plan. I think it's a great idea. And one of the things as far as the matrix that town, Kathy Miller's working on with Alicia, I know Ed Mullen's involved in that subcommittee that's working on that, as far as
Myron's in it,
earmarking
Kathy, yeah.
Yeah.
land for conservation. I just want to bring up one situation that we ran into with respect to the bathhouse at Long Lake. So we have a parcel of land that we could have utilized for
Showers.
septic system for the bathhouse, but it's owned by conservation. And it's a great.
Restricted.
It's restricted, we can't touch it. So it's really a very involved process when we start looking at these parcels, and you have competing interests, but we really need to, I think, have a broad, forward-thinking vision when we say that's going to go to conservation, or however we end up
Well, the water department.
going through the process, the
Yeah.
water department, all of it, because that really was a hindrance. I mean, it would have solved a lot of problems if we could have used that land, so it's an involved process.
So I
That's
really
my
want,
point.
to own this, and I think that it really is not something that we're going to get done this year. I think we might be able to start creating a framework for how to involve all the necessary parties in it, but
I
wanna
I don't know if you, that was a while ago, Anthony, if we used a consultant for that, for the open space and recreation plan.
I
we
think it was
lost
on Myron's goals, wasn't it? Is that what you saw on
Yeah.
Myron's goals? Yeah.
Yeah,
Gail did that.
Was
Gail.
Gail part of that?
Gail Associates did the open space.
I think we
Recreation.
need professional assistance with that process,
Yeah, I think we
Matthew.
would.
That's not
MAPC
something
might
that
be
we
another
can
thing.
do.
Well, if Myron has it on our goals, I'm sure we'll hear about it.
Yeah,
And I can just coordinate with her and with Amy and with, maybe
that will
else.
involve, yeah,
Okay.
a subcommittee, okay.
Mark, work with planning board on TDR?
Yeah, I put that up there just because I don't know what our involvement is on the TDR process.
I'm on the TDR working group,
So, okay,
which is
well then,
which is
put you in
temporarily
there.
on hold because of 550 King Street and the other stuff. We haven't had a chance to meet lately. And I can continue to be, I think I've been sort of leading that group.
As I said, when I filled out the matrix, I wasn't signing up for anything.
I'll put myself on that.
Mark wants it, I'll just-
No, I didn't say I wanted it. I was just saying it's
He
something that
clearly
needed to be
said
done.
he put his name on things that he didn't want. Work with conservation on
That's all I heard.
developing right of first refusal prioritization and funding, more clearly defined funding mechanisms, savings account for potential purchase of parcels.
Yeah.
Do you think that is the same as the first one, or that it's the funding mechanism is a separate goal?
I think it's separate.
Okay.
Yeah, this is
that
an
like the
issue.
land
When
trust
we
thing?
bought the
Yeah, it
Williams
is.
property,
Would
this
that-
was the issue I had.
Does that tie
was not
into
knowing.
what you guys were talking about earlier as
Yeah.
far as the CPC?
The
and-
CPC and then the
up in
land
that,
trust and all of it, yeah.
Looking into that? Because
Yeah,
then
but-
you get
but-
that nice match of money there.
Yeah, but we could put monies from, we can fund the land trust, which is what we've spoken about for the last 3 years.
Right,
And then if we have the opportunity to buy back or buy into the CPC to get a bigger hit, we can take money from there, move it from there, right? Instead of taking it from free cash?
Well, if you up your CPC, you don't have to think of it as, you need to, if it's $1 million, you need to take $1 million out of the CPC. Because now if you have a.
Borrow against it.
Borrow against it, right. So if you have that revenue stream that's going to be able to allow you to borrow against it, and then to get that match from the state, I just think it probably is worth more looking into as far as what's the best way to get the biggest bang for our buck.
I think borrowing borrowing against it, once again, on a extreme situation where there's an absolute piece of land that the town has identified as wanting, it comes up for sale, be it historical, whatever bucket, call it whatever it is, and that's when we'd like exercise that. But I don't think just using it, borrowing as a,
No, but we should definitely analyze, because it's, as far as what would be our capacity be in the CPC to even
Yeah.
consider that, because 1% may not be able to
right.
do
You can
very
shift money
much.
every year between buckets too.
So is the CPC the only avenue that we're going to go down on this?
Well, I just say CPC, no.
Yeah.
Because I say CPC just because, you get that nice match from the state.
But do you get the match when you borrow? I think you have to have the funds secured.
It's, you get the match and you put in, right? So it's whatever we put in, and then if we put more in,
Which if we had the land trust, we could take that pool of money and put more into the CPC bucket to get the match. Am I wrong?
well, why not just throw it in? Why have another step? Why not just throw it into the CPC?
You throw it into CPC and then you take it out to pay the bill that you borrowed. That's what I think he's saying.
Well, one's being identified for land use, and when the other, CPC's got a lot more in there than just.
We can't borrow from it and then put it back into the CPC. Is that what you're saying, Chuck?
Right.
Yeah. So, right.
But you can put it in the CPC and then pay the bill for what you
Yeah,
borrowed out
right.
of it, so.
So, yeah.
But not all projects
Correct.
are going to qualify
Nope.
Right.
under CPC.
So the land
If we have
trust
the
would
land
cover
trust,
some more
yeah,
things than that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Outside of the bounds.
So can I make a suggestion on
Yeah.
those? The third bullet, the first sentence, the work with conservation to.
Yeah.
That goes with the first goal,
Okay.
right? And then the second sentence goes with the increased CPC funding.
Okay.
Can I just throw another wrench into this?
No.
So the planning board set up their bylaws, right? So a developer, has a ability to either provide an affordable housing unit or give money to the housing trust, right? I'm on the Affordable Housing Trust. We've got an awesome rental voucher assistance program that's been really successful. And this is something we need to talk about as a trust, but the ability of the trust ever to have enough money that we're gonna be able to buy a piece of property or buy down a unit in this market, it's not gonna happen. And it's a sad reality. Part of me wants to go to the planning board and say, rewrite the bylaw so that the money doesn't go to the Affordable Housing Trust, because we already get enough money through that cycle anyways, just through the CPC to fund our rental voucher program. Put it into a land trust. Because the big problem is all this development, right? Why wouldn't we ask the money to be shifted to the land trust instead of the Affordable Housing Trust, when we know that our abilities, our capabilities are gonna be really limited in this market?
Yeah, so I think that all goes with the same goal, is trying to figure out how to get funding for these projects, right?
Right, so to
Whether
me, that's
it's-
another potential funding source, but that is dependent on the planning board.
So you had taken the CPC increase, so I put that comment we just had about, the, find ways to do the right of first refusal, more clearly define funding mechanisms, savings account for potential purchase of parcels in with the CPC thing.
Yeah.
So you can you can have that as your goal.
Yeah.
Like both of those things seem to go together.
Okay,
Okay. Housing,
oh,
are we ready to move on?
no, I'm just laughing because
Okay.
we were just talking about that.
Habitat House, I'm actually just emailed Carolyn today about waiting for the perk test to come in, so I'm gonna do that one. Explore new affordable housing trust initiatives. That was Cindy. What are?
We need to, and I think it's further down, Matthew.
Yeah.
We need to create a manual and a guide for the Affordable Housing Trust.
Okay, I see it
We
there.
need a written, because I know what's happened because I've been on the board since the beginning, so doesn't Bartlett, but there's nothing's been memorialized. We need to do that.
What sort of things are you thinking?
It's just whatever we've talked about, like,
Okay.
what are our short-term goals? What are our long-term goals? What's going to be our funding mechanism, as far as, how much, how are we going to use the money that we get through the CPC every year? Where is that going to go? Like, none of that's written down. We
Yeah.
need to solidify that.
I'm going to leave that in your domain.
Okay.
Then move forward with the Durkee Farmhouse project. And my comment here was, does the select board have a role in this? Or is that just the Affordable Housing
No,
Trust?
it's just the Affordable
Okay,
Housing
I'm going
Trust.
to put that, I'm just going to delete that one then. Revive the Stationary Committee and the Common Revitalization Committee.
Those are two separate goals, right?
They are. I think the stationary is going to come back soonish, is my impression.
So I don't think this is necessarily a goal, because I think if the committee comes back, then that's just an assignment and something to
Okay.
monitor probably, right?
We just,
When you say revive it, it's
we need
already.
to revitalize the revitalization committee.
It's just moribund right now because we 550 King Street happened.
So we have the Littleton Common revitalization plan that the planning board put together. There's a bunch of action items. There's a whole matrix at the end of that report about who's supposed to be doing what. Nobody's done anything about it, to no one's fault of their own. But a lot of the things that are recommended in that report are happening organically anyways through the planning board. We had the Littleton Common Committee.
Well, there are two different committees.
Yeah. So,
And we have a committee discussion later, and maybe this will come up, but I want to.
yeah, perfect.
But I do want to, let's remember that there's action items in that report that
Yeah.
aren't being done, because we might have to add that to someone's list later, okay. Partner with the state to identify partners to help with affordable housing, i.e. CHAPA. I think this was you, Chuck?
Yeah, it was. CHAP is an organization that is the, kind of like the leading arm for affordable housing in the state. So just they put municipalities together with 501c3s, builders,
Nonprofit
lenders.
builders, yeah.
Exactly. So they kind of have all under one umbrella, under their website, on the state website, mass.gov. So just, form those relationships. We used to have a really good relationship with Jay Harp, and we've got a decent relationship with Secretary Keneally in his office. Not the same level that we don't share milkshakes with him, but I think that there's other relationships like that we can try to create
Develop,
and leverage.
yeah.
Exactly. So just because I know that this is something that you've put a ton of time and effort into, and I know
Right.
that there are resources available so that although it might be challenging to see us purchasing something that is under the care, custody, and control, or a project that is developed by Affordable Housing Trust, partnering with organizations within CHAPA, I
Right.
think would
Okay.
definitely.
And that's what we
help us
talked,
to
so
that.
like Durkee Farmhouse is a perfect example of that. We're not building Durkee Farmhouse.
Well, Robinson Road would have been too.
Right,
Sorry.
so we're gonna partner with somebody
Right.
once we get that property turned over to us. So is this something you wanna, the Affordable Housing Trust can certainly make that connection, or?
I think, yeah, I mean, if you need any help with it, I'm happy to, try to see if I have any relationships that we can leverage, but.
Okay.
I do think it falls under the Affordable Housing Trust, and if you're gonna.
Okay.
I think you have a passion for that, and you want to stay with that.
Right,
So I don't, it's not really, it's not totally, I guess it is kind of a select board goal. I mean, you could have it as a select board goal, or we could just have it on the Affordable Housing Trust
Right.
list. It's up to you.
yeah.
How you, it's really.
Well, it can be like a joint thing.
Yeah,
'cause-
I'm happy to work on that and try to help you, just to create some relationships.
Yeah.
and,
Whoops.
Okay.
I'll put both of you on that one.
The
Alright.
two houses across the street from that Durkee house, they just go for like 1 point whatever million.
Don't, I'm in the wrong business, man.
Train tracks in the backyard.
Economic Development, schedule quarterly joint meetings with the EDC, extending invite to Littleton Business Association.
I can tell you right now that quarterly meetings for the EDC right now is way premature. I think we can have that as an expectation, but to do it right now, it's a very green board. All of the members have never been at a meeting together, like, nobody's ever met each other at that one meeting.
Is this because of COVID, or is it?
No, I'll take some of the responsibility for it, but we really weren't just able to get the people that are very talented people that we definitely want to keep on there. Conflicts and, a lot happened that kept us from getting a quorum. I mean, we were in this building a number of times with 3 or 4 of us, and we just couldn't meet. The other thing, as I'd say, is I think one of the members that we did appoint, we upped it from 5 to 7 so that we could get a quorum, and we had 3 people. I think Leona was one of them, Linda B.
Never came, right?
Yeah,
Why
and
are they still on
we ended
board?
up appointing 3 people instead of 2. Well, Linda B. moved to Florida, so she's gone. So I think we ratcheted it back to 7, so that it doesn't, 7 or
It
8
almost
doesn't
gets to
matter in
be
the
too
quorum.
big.
7 or 8 doesn't matter on the quorum.
Oh.
And those 7 people, I've literally reached out to all of them. Leona, we had the wrong email address for Leona.
Oh,
Just came off her application, and whether it got transposed, I'm not really sure. But now we have this month, we're looking forward to all being in a room together, and
So what's the goal?
a lot of that.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know that anything specific to the I think the EDC needs to have their own goals. I think the goal
Great.
for the
So,
board should be,
so why don't we do this? Why don't we ask the EDC to set goals and share their goals with us?
I have one here. It's charge the EDC with creating a plan.
Ah,
And I
there
think
you go.
that's exactly what.
so if you look at, the matrix, I put
Yeah.
down EDC to report back to select board, end of September with an EDC plan.
Perfect.
I think that's why I put it in the end of September on the date on this
Right,
one.
great.
Okay, good. Improve the relationship with the Littleton Business Association. I don't know who put that one in.
That was probably me.
Okay.
I just don't know what the relationship is between the EDC and LVA, right?
Yeah.
Or if there is one, or if it,
There has been in the past, mostly related to sewer. The LBA had ideas of what EDC should be doing to try to promote the sewer. And it was potentially, no, I wouldn't say it was conflict of interest, but it was the tail wagging the dog a little bit. And and again, we didn't have
Do we have any
enough meetings.
representation on that?
Pardon me?
There's no representation.
LBA?
There's nobody from the LBA that is, that sits on the EDC.
Yeah, Paul and Joe used to go to.
They're still
LBA
members.
meetings, yeah, they're still members of that.
Is there any goal here for us?
Mark put it on there, I don't know.
Yeah, do you think,
I mean, I think it's
he
definitely
was-
something.
He was looking for information, I think.
So I think it's something that, well, I know that we've got as part of our plan, to be more engaged with LBA, to be more engaged with, frankly, Middlesex Valley Chamber of Commerce, who had the event tonight. And
Yeah.
just other organizations, along the 495 corridor, just to try to,
okay.
real
think
real estate groups, like commercial realtors and
I
things like
think
that.
that can just be one of the goals of the EDC.
Okay,
right?
cool.
Yeah.
Mark, you had Revive Common Revitalization Committee?
Yeah, I think that just keeps coming up on all of them. right?
Okay, and I think we are gonna talk about that later.
Go into that under committees.
Everyone had continue working on 550 King Street. There's no real measurable goals there, but we're obviously all doing that all the time. I am really interested in what's going on with the Points wastewater treatment. I haven't heard anything about that in a long time.
That's kind of outside our lane, though. There's
The private,
I was-
DEP, that's the,
Yeah, I was gonna ask, maybe Nick can give us an update
He
on it.
does have he definitely has a lot of information on it.
Nick does,
Yeah, just because he works,
Through the
talks with
He
me.
gets reports from.
yeah.
but again, is that a goal? We certainly want to
Yeah,
have.
no, I guess probably not. Work with Littleton Electric Light for sewer, timeline, and funding and grants.
That's what you guys are doing now. right?
Yeah, but I don't think I put that one on there. But I don't know who did. I don't remember. Okay, I mean, it's just,
I might have.
that's ongoing, right?
I put that on there.
Okay.
Yeah,
It was late.
I wasn't,
It was
it wasn't something that I was suggesting that I do, so,
Okay,
but, yeah.
I mean, I
Staying on top of the timeline, those two, the property and what the sewer is doing is so importantly connected to a timeline that we have to make sure that we're just, and that's through that group, that's through the group, the
I
sewer
think
working
it
group.
goes hand in hand with all the attention we're paying to 550 King Street. I think we can't really separate those two things.
You can't.
correct. I do, I mean, I've been, the only time that I wasn't a member of the sewer working group was when Chase was on board, for obvious reasons, there's engineering and all that kind of stuff, but after he left, I went back on with Paul, and I think the continuity has been,
Yeah.
we had the last meeting that we had, I think, was beneficial.
Yeah,
So
I
it
definitely
is something.
I want
that-
you in the room for all those meetings, absolutely.
Okay.
Monitor Littleton common infrastructure needs and increase traffic flow while promoting a walkable common. I didn't think there were specific, that wasn't specific enough. I didn't know who put that in.
Gary did.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I was trying to capture, just losing sight of who drives that train. We're talking about a lot of money being dumped into infrastructure. I mean, the state obviously has something to do. Where's the input coming from? And I just didn't know what type of control we have. Are we at the table and we're talking about, when you're talking like a third lane on King Street?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, who's,
So I would throw this under part of the charter of the Common Revitalization Committee.
yeah,
So I
okay.
think that's,
But I definitely would want reports on that, because there's some big changes that could come there, keep that traffic pattern, and then,
Have you read the roadmap? The Littleton Common
Yes.
Revitalization Roadmap? It's a good report.
but and if that's what I mean, though, as long as, are we following that?
Yeah, so.
That's
to
where
Mark's
I
point.
worry about walkable common, we keep talking it, well, let's.
But that existed before
Walk the walk,
550 King
talk
Street
the-
changed hands.
I know.
So
Yeah.
there's a lot that's changing. I think that's where you're going as far
Yes.
as what was mentioned at Napoli Companies was that, the potential of third lanes, and
I mean, drawings are nice, but.
MassWorks grants are going to have a lot of impact on the infrastructure and the layout, and,
Right.
and it's the big concern for folks is what's going to do to traffic.
Yep.
So.
I think that's an open one that we don't really know
Yeah,
how we're going to
that's
address.
fair, yeah.
But that's a very important goal that I
Well,
think we should monitor.
I think it is important for us to monitor. I think it lies very much on the desk of our town administrator. I also think Mr. Yonley plays a huge role in that, being, and Steve has a relationship with Mass DOT, Mass Highway, I had something that was right in this kind of realm as well, but it's bringing foot traffic over to the point and back.
I saw that one.
Right.
From the point to 550 King Street, which I don't think will be part of this round of MassWorks grants, but Anthony brought the point up, and I think Gary brought the point up when we we're up there, that
Every year.
it doesn't mean we can't go for a MassWorks grant next year, and the year after, and the year after that. And I think they're going to see, as they take a look at this project, and it's very much a project that is on the radar for the state as a whole, I think they're going to see that
Okay.
bottleneck
Yeah.
going over the 495 bridge is something that needs to be addressed in some way, shape, or form.
Appointed boards and committees. So I feel like, Cindy, you sent me a list, which was very helpful, of like committees that were sort of, at least a few years ago, had been dissolved or we
Right.
reviewed it. So I have a suggestion that we look through the committees and make one of the following recommendations: remove or disband it if it's inactive or unnecessary, recharter it if we feel like the charter isn't accurate, try to re-energize the ones which are moribund, and you're talking about the EDC, like, let's give them something to do, assign a liaison, which I think there are a couple boards that we need a liaison on, or leave it alone, or just invite people in for a progress report for fiscal year '23, because there's some boards that we haven't seen in a long time. Sustainability is a great example of that.
Yeah.
And I have a list down below of the boards and, again, what I think, but this is all subject to discussion. We would need to review, finalize relevant new charters with input from the committee members if necessary. Invite 1 to 3 committees to each select board meeting, I think this was Mark, to hear reports, assign tasks, discuss charter changes, et cetera. Chair will work with TA's office to schedule.
I think 1 to 3 is, I think 1 is adequate.
Yeah.
Per meeting. We've got plenty of meetings that we could spread that out, and it'll be easier for us to schedule 1 if we plan to do that. I think if they've got something to say, it's great to have them come in. If they really don't have anything to say,
I know.
Well,
We've
but
got a lot of
see,
other stuff we
but
gotta do.
I think what happens is they don't have anything to say and they're not doing anything. So is it in our mission to try to get them to do something and/or find new people or a new purpose for them to do something?
so to that end, I'd offer that maybe we have 1 meeting a year where we kind of give them a performance evaluation.
That's not a bad
And
idea.
we 1 meeting a year that we schedule just to review the usefulness of a board or committee. How is our attendance? How is our representation?
Right.
Do
That's
we need to
great,
change the
yeah.
charter?
Right,
So
and
a
that's on
report
that,
card for each.
right, exactly, and that's on the select board calendar that we do have, is that we are supposed to invite them in. I think a lot of them would appreciate that, because I
Yeah.
think they feel like we appoint them and we don't give them any direction or any support, so.
Yep.
I think it's a great idea.
Do we invite them all in to talk about it, or do we just talk about it behind their backs and then tell them? You know what I mean? Like, if we have 1 meeting and all the committees are invited, that seems like
Didn't you used to have at one time a chair, what was it called, chairs committees? And just 1 annual meeting where you kind of just, the
the
chairs
chairs.
get
Chair the
together?
chairs, yeah.
all the chairs from all the boards came?
That's
Yeah.
actually not a
Yeah,
bad
yeah.
idea. That was
Was it
a,
committee of chairs, or?
It had a name,
yeah, it was.
Chairs committee.
Chair of chairs.
The Board of Chairs Committee, yeah.
The
Anyway,
chair-
we-
the chair's the chair.
Okay.
I can go
So,
on.
I think that's a great idea.
Put the chair committee.
Yeah, the chair committee.
So, I'm gonna have to say, so, I don't know who will manage inviting one committee? Who will manage creating? I don't want to put everything on Anthony, even though he's going to end up doing it.
It's realistic.
Sorry.
I think something like that, the town clerk can be a
Okay.
big
Okay.
help.
That's a great point, okay. Post committee vacancies to solicit new members. Was that, who put that one in?
Oh,
Was that you, Cindy?
I don't
Okay.
know.
We do post them, don't we?
Well, Anthony's got it on,
We are?
I think we were doing that anyways, weren't we? On-
Yeah, what I was thinking with this too is after we do all the appointments over the next couple of meetings, we determine, we don't have positions completely filled for all the committees, but maybe at the start of every select board meeting, that would kind of be one of my mail updates, just to remind the residents that we're still looking for members for whatever, EDC, cultural council.
I think when people are walking into town meeting, there should be a big, one of the slides should be, here are all the board
We want you.
vacancies. Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Right.
Okay, great. So you're going to add that to your update?
Yeah, once we get through with this, I'm gonna
Okay.
incorporate
And
that.
then Littleton Common Revitalization Roadmap, monitor infrastructure needs and increase traffic flow. So that has, I moved that down here because it seemed to go along with the Littleton Common Revitalization Committee, which seems redundant because there's the Littleton, what is the other one? The Littleton Common Committee? There's another one. I wasn't sure what how those two are different.
They're not.
But are there,
Where are,
there are two of them, aren't there?
yeah, I thought we
dissolved the common committee.
Littleton
We
Common,
dissolved the common committee.
It's still on there?
it's still on here. Is there a revitalization
It's on the
as
town
well?
website?
I'm looking at, the Common Committee is on the town website.
The common revitalization is not.
Yeah, so maybe we disbanded the revitalization?
Whoops.
I think the revitalization,
We could
you had one meeting
research
and it
that,
never
because if you took a
went
vote,
further.
we could figure that out.
Okay.
Some of those
Took
look
care of that
like
report
they were
and
gone
then-
already.
Yeah, I don't know that list is,
It just may have not been inactive on the
Okay, fair
website,
enough,
but
okay.
doesn't mean it's an active
Okay.
committee.
So, obviously, I think, here's my list of ones that I think are no action is needed, that, the Land Sale Committee meets when it needs to, zoning, LCTV, historical, FinCom, obviously, I don't know does the Insurance Advisory Committee meet?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's the employees, Michelle gets together with all the unions and so forth. We did that a month ago or so.
Orchard Working Group, COA, CONSCOM, CPC, Affordable Housing Trust, all are functional. I would like to hear from BPAC. I actually talked to Gary LaCroix the other night at that Eagle Scout thing, and he gave me an update on it, but I still would like to hear from them. Clean Lakes, Cultural Council.
PAC should be busy because we have that
Yeah.
bicycle and pedestrian
Yep.
plan that you guys are gonna be approving that contract on Monday. So
Down Harwood
that's-
Ave, right? They were on Harwood Ave, measuring stuff.
Yep. Disability, Shade Tree, and Sustainability. They're just committees that I don't know what they're doing. So
Shade
I'd like to
Tree's
have
they're doing great.
Okay,
They've
well,
got a
I'd
whole-
love to hear from them.
Yeah, they had come in, I think it was 2 years ago. They actually have a whole plan.
Okay.
Yeah, they're great.
Let's ask them
They're
in
doing really
for,
good.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, on MPIC's there. Okay, gotcha.
Assigned work, space needs. I mean, Mark and Gary, you both asked for that on our board appointments. I think the new Old Town Hall conversation is going to be a meaty, project for that one. Taxation, the TRED, obviously revamp the work-off program. You mentioned that earlier. EDC, we talked about. AgCom, you talked about adding one-page bios, but that would be something that AgCom could do.
So just for clarity.
Yeah.
There's no action needed or schedule an update on AgCom, so which are they in?
There's no action needed, or, I'm sorry, say that again?
They're not under no action needed and they're not under schedule and update.
Yeah, they're right here,
Assigned work.
they're under assigned work.
So Gary's going to talk to them, but they're not coming, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of picked one category for each. Maybe they
Okay.
need to be in more than one.
Okay.
I think we need a liaison to Light and Water.
What day do they meet?
I can be with them, it's Wednesdays.
Okay. I'd really like to get them to televise their meetings. Littleton Common Committee and the MBTA Advisory Committee.
That MBTA Advisory Committee, I thought we abolished that.
No, the MBTA Advisory Committee.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
I sit on that, I
Oh.
represent. So it's a group that meets every community that has in the MBTA, we meet, not much that goes on
Once a
now.
year?
No, it's maybe once every couple of months.
Is that like the Magic Region or?
No, it's through the
MBTA,
MBTA Advisory
but-
Board, that's what it's called.
But it's
But you
equivalent
guys
to
are
Magic.
regional, right? You guys are,
It's no, this one, well, everybody in the MBTA region. Anybody
I
that,
thought there were different regions, like the Fitchburg line had one meeting.
well, those are regional transportations. This is MBTA specific.
Okay.
MART has
But
different,
what's the value of you finding out what's going on at Oak Grove?
it's not, but they
Forest
talk
Hills.
about, but no, there's a lot of things that go on, especially with the commuter rail and how it affects.
That's
and
what I mean, the Fitchburg
plans
line,
are.
the commuter rail,
Yeah,
Fitchburg commuter line.
right.
Yeah,
So does the MBTA come to these and tell you what's going on, or do you just discuss it with other
It's all
communities?
via Zoom right now.
Yeah, it's all via Zoom,
Okay.
and somebody will come and during the budget process, they go through the T's budget and so forth, and.
Okay,
Right, so it's still,
It's not, it's still
Still relevant.
active.
okay.
but it's just you, so it's not
Yeah.
any,
Yeah, it's
Right.
not, you're not
I'm
missing
going
it.
to put that under no action needed. The Littleton Common Committee and the Littleton Revitalization. So we have a couple, like, action items that are kind of tied up together. There's the infrastructure for 550 King Street, there's the walkable downtown, and then there's these two committees, and we don't know which one is active. So I'm trying to figure out how to approach this and what the best way forward is. Is there value in having the Common Committee?
How about I take on, because Anna and Delisa and I were, as far as I know, the only three members of the revitalization committee
Gary was on it.
this year. You were on it?
Gary was on the Common Revitalization Committee.
as far as wanting to be on it, you know.
No, you were on it. You were the FinCom representative.
Oh, it's a shame.
Oh, we did, we brought together that whole committee, it was too big, wasn't
Yes.
it?
Well, it ended up being just Delisa, Anna, and I
Yeah,
in the end, and I can reach out to them and find out where that's at, and I think we can cobble together between the two committees. It was my understanding that we abolished the common committee. because
Okay.
it was,
and I feel, right, and I think we actually appointed people to the common committee, and then they just, which really stinks, because
Never
they came
mind.
out to get involved, and they just fell by the wayside.
So, yeah, so
Do
do
you
we
want me
need?
do you want me to do some digging and find
Yeah,
out
let's-
which
I guess
committee is
that-
actually?
That would be good, and also what their charter is and who's on it, because do we need, just select board and planning board on that committee? I mean, I don't know what we're trying to get out of it.
We're trying to look at the revitalization roadmap and implement the recommendations in that report. Would that be the charge of the common committee?
Sounds reasonable to me.
We can, once we find out what we have, we can
Okay,
Figure
kind
out.
of restart the engine,
Chuck, so you're going to look into those committees.
Yeah, I'll try to report
Okay, that's
back
good.
in a week or so on what exists and.
Who's on revitalization?
We've never met.
Planning Board, Affordable Housing.
It's news to me.
I've never received an email.
Oh, dear. Okay, well, I'm glad we're talking about it then.
Awesome.
Revive, Common.
Three of those people didn't work for
Okay,
the
that's,
town
I'm gonna leave
anymore.
that on there. Station area, Mark and Gary are on that when it comes back. Transfer of development rights is Matthew. Recharter the Ag Working Group, we'll talk about that. Open space and recreation plan implementation. The plan is no longer valid or it's outdated. Our lack of compliance may preclude us from receiving grants. It's from 27, it's in 2017 or 2012, I can't remember.
I think
more
it's
than-
17.
Yeah, okay. This one I would like to look into because I think it dovetails with the things we were talking about where we have a townwide strategy on open space. And I'm not sure that this committee is I'm not sure that their charter is correct.
I think this is the one, though, if we're going to revisit the open space and recreation plan, we're going to need a consultant to help with that process.
Oh, you did say that earlier.
Yeah, there's no way that a committee's going to be able to undertake updating that
Okay.
report. It's going to be, it's a lot.
All right.
So we're going to need
I think I had that.
someone to find a grant to pay for that funding source.
Yes, okay, so I have need professional assistance written
Yeah.
down there, okay. Roadway improvements, strategy for 119 Bridge, that was Chuck.
Sorry, I was thinking it's.
That's okay. I mean, we're almost done. so-
Sanders is doing a great job on that.
What's that?
George Sanders is gonna get us
Sanders.
Put
$20
George
million
Sanders
to
down.
do that.
We're gonna have a flyover, we're gonna have a monorail.
glass gerbil
Just
tube
let him
from the
go-
point to
He's doing a
550.
great job. He reached out to Senator Markey's office. He asked the senator to come out here, and so, George is
bless him.
great. He's.
Go
he
George.
really is, yeah, so.
He's gonna have he's gonna,
The George Sanders,
George Sanders.
495 flyover.
We will name
That'd
it,
be
we'll name it.
But seriously, like, is there a plan? Is there a select board goal for that bridge?
I think that's a long-term plan,
Okay.
because,
It is a
you're not gonna get that planned anytime
Okay.
soon.
We're getting a
but-
rotary on 119 up the road, right?
Yeah.
that is something that
It's
we,
a
yeah.
roundabout.
Right, excuse me.
it's a
Yeah.
traffic mitigation system.
Right, I think that once you get the rotary, I think that a roundabout.
No,
then
stick with rotary, thank you.
It adds to the chance that we can get it
Yeah.
addressed.
Okay.
Okay.
And then Shaker Lane sidewalks we talked about earlier. Okay, transportation, Crosstown Connect. Someone put that in and I didn't know what.
I put that in, but I just,
Yeah, I had something in there as
as a
well with
point,
it.
So it's shut off right now.
It's more about,
Just on hold.
it's more about expanding, we're gonna, once 550 King Street, because then once again, these things need to be relooked a little bit, and how we
Yeah.
revamp these and expand.
But is this a goal or is this just,
Probably.
we need to look at it in the future?
Yeah, it's probably one of those 2 to
Future
5 year.
consideration.
Yeah.
Research more regional options and partnerships while pursuing grants and increased options for the town's growing population needs. Is this you, Mark, or
That
Chuck?
might have been me.
Okay.
Who's track?
It was
The
transportation.
TAC, it should be
TAC.
Transportation Advisory Committee, yeah. Is this something we delegate to
Track is
them?
one of the park
I'm
and rec
like-
programs. After-school program for the teens.
Slip of the finger.
So, we do an intermunicipal agreement with Boxborough. They do a municipal agreement with us for cable, we do it for animal control. There's gotta be other options and other opportunities for us to work with regional
Absolutely. I said that.
partners.
Yep.
And I think that, somewhere else I put a goal that we have a summit with surrounding communities, some of their leaders, just to say, hey, what's working for you guys, what's not working for you guys, we've had success with this, and what about you? And I think some of that, they kind of play together, but I do think we need to, I'm gonna go back on, we purchased in excess of $1 million, $1.2, $1.4 million tower truck. Ayer's got a high-reaching piece of equipment, Boxborough's got one,
Maynard.
Acton's got one, Westford, so there's a lot of them around us, and, maybe we could have worked out some sort of an agreement where if we know that we're going to need a tower or a ladder or straight stick or whatever, we're gonna pull the alarm for a mutual aid. That may or may not be realistic, we're probably not at that point in society right now, but before Digital purchased the first ladder truck for us, we didn't have one. So that's an example, obviously, we're not gonna go backwards, but what are some other opportunities for us? And it could have something to do with the transfer station. I know Chris Stoddard and I had talked a number of times, and Ashley's looked at a lot of the other communities. Maybe Groton does a really good job of crushing glass. Maybe we do plastic, and then we talk to Acton, and they do paper. There might be opportunities for each of the communities to make an investment that will help all of us. I don't know what those
Yeah,
opportunities are right now.
do you have anything specific that we could, do you have a way to find those things, or ideas on how to find them or pursue them?
They come up, we did another regional, the IMA for the electrical inspector at Acton, so,
But is it just, we jump after them when they appear, or is there something of where we can go out and look? I wouldn't know where or what to look for, honestly.
Regionalize anything when you think about it.
Yeah, but,
so Anthony, do you talk to the town administrators as a group in the surrounding towns? And the select board, or, are there reports coming back on what we could regionalize on some of these things, or what their needs are, or how we can work together on these things?
I'd be open to inviting the town administrators and town managers and the select boards from surrounding communities, school committees, whatever, having a big summit, throw some pizzas at us and say, just have it be about regionalization. What have you done? What have you thought about?
we meet with the Neshoba Valley Chamber of Commerce, host a monthly meeting with the administrators and managers in the region, and I can ask Melissa to put that on a future agenda, just to have a roundtable discussion about regionalization.
Yeah, I think those conversations should start
Chuck,
happening.
I think this can start with one-on-ones. I'm not gonna say assign each one of us a town, but I mean, I have a cousin that's on the Acton Select Board. Had breakfast with him one day and talk about these type of things. You know what I mean? That's how those relationships could probably at least cultivate and start.
Yeah, begin them, yeah.
You know, one of us could talk, sit on with air, go for coffee, and just,
Our Park and Rec commissioners are talking about, big thinking, aquatic center,
Yeah.
or there's.
that's
all
a
these-
huge regional idea, things like
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Why can't we leverage resources from a couple of different communities and make something like that happen? And then, then somebody else puts in a rink, there's opportunities, I think, because,
Are you talking about just as far as projects like space and things like that, or just anything
no, I
in
think
general?
Shared
departments could do it. I mean,
So-
when I was in
Regionalized
Wenham,
schools,
I was responsible
library,
for the only
orchards.
regional library in the state, Hamilton Wenham Regional Library. That we shared the expenses with, and it's a pretty nice place.
Yeah, so my boss lives in Groton, and they're looking into electronic voting. And he had said to me, his Littleton never looked into that, he's on a committee, he's like, is it something that they might be looking to partner with another community
Electronic voting for,
Town meeting.
town meeting?
yeah, I brought that up when I first came back and didn't go over too well.
Right.
If it's a shared resource.
So
with a
he was
couple
saying would
towns.
Littleton
Well,
might be interested in
we're all
in
different.
sharing
When-
that resource with us.
The moderator wasn't interested in doing something like that, so I think that's a discussion you have to have with Tim, because we could have used, at the time, we could have bought it using CARES money. We ended up giving back CARES money because we didn't use all that CARES
Right.
money. So that's what I did in Hamilton, in Wenham. And I did electronic voting, so I have experience doing it.
but that's a good point, because they don't use those machines on the same nights that we use them.
Yeah, their town meeting's on Saturday.
So, yeah,
So
so
he-
we talked about this up in the North Shore. There's certain numbers of devices that you have to get, and what we need, it might be different than what Groton needs. So you'll have to accommodate for the largest community, and then somebody has to be responsible for them, and
But that's an IMA.
So maybe-
That's an IMA, though.
I actually, I think we're in the weeds here.
Yeah, we-
fair enough.
I'm just
Very
throwing it out
specific,
there.
but that's a
Is
good
it-
example.
Let's
It's
move
an
on.
example,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, I think that there's a lot of value here. There's potentially a ton of value here if we can, but I think
Specificity.
the goal should be how we find them. Like, I think we could do anything with it, we could probably find a way to work.
What makes more sense regionalizing, whether
Yeah,
it's a resource, whether it's
Yeah,
a.
or how do we identify something like electronic voting that makes sense for us? I think that's more of what we should be worrying about than necessarily how many voting units we need.
I don't want to put fly in the ointment, but right now, we just went through reorganizing our health department, or creating a health department. And maybe
Maybe, yeah, right, maybe
or
there's.
somebody else that was part of.
Wanted to jump off
the
of-
show,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
How about a grant writer?
Yahtzee.
There's another, right? I mean,
For the staffing
seriously.
thing, yeah, for a group of towns.
Right, so I mean, I think we
With the
look at it
veterans
both
agent.
ways. I mean, Anthony's already connected with a group of other town administrators, town managers that speak regularly. He can use his resource. Gary, you know somebody on the Acton Select Board, you could use that resource. I don't think it needs to be an either or. Why not do,
Oh, absolutely.
Do-
Parallel paths, yeah,
right?
sure.
And see what we come up with.
But so how do we figure out what to go after and keep track of them, right? Like, these are all great ideas. Is there a list we keep? Is there a document? Is there?
Well, I think it depends, so I think, maybe we say to Anthony and whoever, hey, I don't know when your next meeting is with that group, Anthony, or how often you talk to them, but hey, maybe this is something we revisit and have a discussion. Did you guys find out anything? Are there any ideas that came back? And then based on those ideas, that's how we decide how we're gonna move forward.
So just reading ahead, Chuck has under other goals, host a summit with surrounding community
Yeah.
boards.
Wow.
So can we just
Sure.
put this
Tie
under
it into
that?
that, yeah. Thank you. I did mention that.
And that gets done, that, Acton was doing that, was Acton, no, Pepperell.
Was the chamber-
Sheriff's Pepperell was doing it for.
Sustainability.
Sustainability.
Sustainability,
Yeah.
I've done a couple of those with Renato.
yeah.
Was it worthwhile? Was it like valuable, do you think?
I think it is just for, if for no other reason than the networking part and the sharing of ideas and, oh, you guys did that, how did it work out, so I think there is value to that.
Okay. Do you want to take the lead on trying to organize that? Okay.
Well played.
So again, like, I don't think we've really figured out how to identify regionalization opportunities. Maybe we can't right now.
No, besides making it a priority, kind of knowing maybe what our neighboring towns, that's a conversation, that's all.
Well, we do that. Chief Penard's working the
Yeah.
regional detectives,
Right.
so, I think it's one of those things where I can talk to department heads and just
Okay.
be mindful of regional opportunities, because they do it. They do.
We're open to it.
Well, Chief Carter was during our public safety meeting, he was bringing up regionalization of fire departments, and I said, nah, it'll never happen in this state. And he goes, I don't know, it's getting to that point,
Today's day and
especially in some of the
age.
smaller communities.
Right. So much mutual
So
aid.
there, in addition to talking to department heads, I think the other thing would be just to document what we do, right? So, I don't know what the regionalization things are, I don't know anyone here does, except potentially Anthony. It might be nice to know what we already are doing, so that we know who to explore other opportunities with.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't want to, again, I'm not adding all this to you, Anthony, but I'm just taking notes so I remember, yeah.
Send it out later. I'll get it.
Plans to better support alternative forms of transportation, bike lanes, trails, sidewalks, et cetera. My comment was, is this something that we delegate to the BPAC or the TAC?
I think TAC's working on
Yeah.
a lot of that, and BPAC too.
Who, do you know who put that one in?
I probably did,
Okay.
but,
I did it on the common, but I think it's all related. It's gonna be so important. Everything now is a bike lane that we're putting in. I mean, that's a huge thing. They were measuring down Harwood Ave, and I didn't even know we were putting bike lanes on Harwood Ave, but that's something that's happening.
Right, but is it a select board goal?
No, I mean.
Is there a select board
It's-
goal related to
It's
that?
the, with the streets,
Complete streets.
yeah, Complete Streets program really
that's
kicked
a
it off.
whole-
Well, and
plan.
the BPAC is like that, there's a bicycle, what is it, the study that's just finishing up for the bicycle lanes and
The master plan?
yeah, the master plan, sorry.
Oh, we haven't even started that.
Okay, good.
They had a whole,
Trail system.
Yeah.
no, but they'll have a lot of time doing that in community outreach.
I mean, Foster Street's gonna kick it off for the state
Right.
part on that end. That's gonna have the walk lane, the bike lane, the.
I guess I'm saying, like, do we just try to delegate this to the committees that are responsible and ask for reports?
Yes.
I think so.
Right. Elder and Human Services, build the center. Yeah, we know that. Everyone said it. It would be great to get monthly updates. I just, I put your name on it because you have the most experience in building municipal buildings.
Probably quarterly until we have to meet monthly.
Yeah, exactly. Public safety, there really wasn't anything except revisit work done on mental health and substance abuse, collaborate with EHS, LBD, LFD schools to educate and provide services. So I actually had coffee with Penard this morning, and he talked about the task force they're working on with Ed and Liz to deal with, emergent situations, like emergency situations, which I think is part of that. But do you think there's something different here?
I definitely think there's something
Okay.
different there, because what they're dealing with, at least of late, is more hoarding and that kind of thing. We're
Dangerous living situations, yeah.
food insecurities and things like that. Yeah, this is more. I mean,
So.
pretty active a few years ago.
Yeah,
creating
so we started
videos
the, when I first got on the board, Chase and I had our initiative was to help combat the opioid crisis. Through that process, we came up with the Littleton Coalition Against Addiction. Anthony was involved in that process, and we moved that under the umbrella of EHS. And so Nicole has been spearheading that. She's actually grown that now she has support groups for parents dealing with children, that have addiction issues. She has a grandparent support group for grandparents who now have to come in and take care of their grandchildren because
their kids have addiction issues.
Exactly. I did a whole bunch of video interviews, Stop the Stigma, start a conversation with people in Littleton that had overcome addiction or had dealt with addiction issues. But I mean, EHS if you get on the Littleton Coalition Against Addiction website, it's on Facebook, their Facebook page. They're very, very active
Okay.
with combating those mental health and substance abuse issues in Littleton. And I think it would be great to maybe see what more we can do to support them
Yeah.
and help get the word out there for them, because I think a lot of people, maybe we have so many new people moving to town, maybe they don't know that they're,
There are
And where are we
resources.
There
at
are
with it, too? I mean,
resources.
what's the,
So is the goal to, magnify their reach, or like, what's the select board goal on that, do you think? What did you have in mind when you wrote that?
focus more?
Just to be sure that the resources are available for EHS, LPD, LFD, the schools to, had a movie night with a
the
question and answer
Claysoper.
session, yeah.
Yeah, that was great.
And so do we reach out to them and proactively and ask them if they need something, or is this just more like, well, when they come to us, we're sensitive to it?
Liz is going to be here on Monday night. You may want to just throw this, obviously, you're not going to deliberate it, there's nothing to decide on, but you can ask that question while she's asking for, do you accept a grant, and talk about the senior tax work-off program, that you just pitch that to her. Maybe she'll have some ideas and bring it back to a future meeting or so, what have you.
And there is a
Telling them
wellness,
they're remembering that?
a wellness committee at the schools.
Yes.
It's a huge group, and
Yeah.
they're always doing things, so,
I think also, like,
Very,
yeah.
Yeah.
the fire chief with his service dog is very focused on.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's a-
that's specifically about his crew, but that can be a resource for the schools, for the police
It's a great
department, for the
idea.
town, whoever. So I think that it's nice to see both the chiefs are really focused on that.
at the school level, Julie Elmore has a service dog that
Yeah.
she's in school with every
Okay.
day. She's at all the sporting
Every
events over
event.
there. and that dog-
That's great. Okay.
She's there, yeah. it's-
So, okay, so yeah, again, so do you think we need a goal, or just be mindful of it?
I guess as long as we're mindful of it, and we don't see a lot of line items for, if there is more that we could be doing, if there is a program like the Nate Sopel,
Claysoper,
Clay Soper,
yeah, I would,
if there's any other programs like that, I know that, who's the kid that Heron, was it Danny Heron? The basketball player?
Basketball player.
From Fall River, I think it was, he would do a speaking circuit.
Yeah.
If,
I mean-
there's some
Right.
grant money available, budget dollars available that we can subsidize to make sure that that's part of public safety, right?
right.
People get
Like if
So,
there's matching
we could
funds or
ac-
something like that,
We
yeah.
could actually buy the Claysoper film. You can buy the film.
Okay.
And I know this falls on the schools, but I just know from personal experience and the message that is shown through that film, I would just love to have that shown to every graduating senior before they go to college. I don't know about you guys and your kids, but my kids used to talk to me about it all the time. Kids, they take their Adderall and then they go out drinking. They don't think twice about it.
Or they take 3 of their Adderall.
Right. And
okay.
then- Yeah, so I mean, that is something we could do, but then that falls on the schools and we have to
Yeah.
get them to buy into it and all that, so.
So are all these groups collaborating on their own, or do we have to help facilitate it?
They're all, so that wellness committee through the
Well, is the
schools,
wellness committee?
yeah, Matt Pinard's part of that. And I assume EHS is, but maybe that's something that we should find out about.
Let's talk to Liz about it on Monday and
Yeah,
ask her
okay.
maybe we can invite her back for an update or for a report on how they're collaborating.
I think it would
with
be
other
great to
town
have
departments.
Nicole come in and talk about what she's
Okay.
been
All
doing
right,
too.
cool. All right, last batch. The first 3, Cindy, are you, they're basically veteran, veteran memorial work?
Yeah,
So sure, go for it.
I'm
Like,
kind
you
of
know.
involved in these indirectly on the other end, so it's.
Yeah, right?
But we're both.
And then Chuck hosts a summit surrounding opportunities in it, so I just put your name on that.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's tied into the regionalization thing.
Oh, Board of Chairs. Thank
Board of
you.
Chairs?
Board
There
of
you
Chairs,
go.
that's what it was called.
Oh, you're so close.
Thank you for watching, Diane.
So that's it. Like, actually, I was hoping we'd be done by 8:30, so we're actually early. To go back, what I'd like to do is, I'm gonna send this around, and I want to sort of find a way to get everybody looking at what they signed up for, because some people it's gonna be a big list, some people it's gonna be a small list.
Tiny list, right?
And that's fine, but maybe there's horse trading, or maybe there's other things you wanna do.
Yeah.
I wanna make sure we are aware of what's gonna be completed and what isn't in a timely fashion.
And it's important to understand, this is these are our collective goals.
Yeah.
So, although we have a captain or a champion to get to the finish line, any one of us can help others.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So you're going to circulate, Matthew,
Yeah.
a clean version and
Yes, I'm going to circulate
shrunk
it.
down or something?
And then I think the other thing is, I didn't put dates in, but for the things that we can identify with dates, I'd like to have people suggest, okay, I can have this done by this time. And then we'll come back to it at a meeting and find out whether it's done or not. Does anyone feel like there's things that we didn't cover here? Like things that you wanted, like, to your point earlier about
Right.
if you had known.
Yeah, so if you're going to recirculate it, that's perfect.
Okay.
Because then I want to look back at like the department head meeting and just have a second set of eyes on it, just a chance to review it and go
Yes.
back through it. So there may be, there may not be, I just don't know.
Just agenda it again for the 27th, kind of just summarize it
Yeah.
and short little.
I'll recirculate it in the next day or two.
And in that, I mean, are we discussing how this translates into some of his goals as well?
Yes,
Or
I
not?
think that we mentioned, I think there were one or two that we thought
Yeah.
about. But I want to come up with a process for figuring out how
Yeah.
these goals are going to be determined. That was one of my goals.
Okay.
All right.
I have two,
Yeah.
I have two things. At the meeting that you were absent, we were doing the select board committee assignments. And I don't know if we want to go back and make sure we have the right assignments.
I forgot what they were.
I do
Okay.
too, but I'm not even sure that all of the committees had an assignment that coming out of that, or we just put Chuck on all the ones that we didn't want to, no one else volunteered for. But the other thing I would say is for all of the committees that are appointed, like sustainability and AdCom and things, we should have a liaison too for them, whether or not that means you're going to the meetings or not, but at least they have someone on the select board that they know, if there's something, I'm gonna contact this person, right? And then we can distribute it from there, but at least they have a body that they know how to reach.
Right.
So, and we didn't go through assignments like that, but we should, right?
So we probably can't put that on the agenda for Monday, but we can
No.
do it for the meeting after.
But if we're going to go through and finalize these, we can do it at the same, that's all I'm suggesting.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, the only other thing, that I kind of crossed my mind, we're just thinking about the town hall employees, and if there needs to be some type of a liaison I mean, you're the chair, working with Anthony directly, but I was just curious, Anthony, if you felt that you needed to have a liaison with the town hall, like the employees, or,
Like the board liaison with the
Yeah.
employees?
yeah, I know it's a weird kind of concept, I saw it, read something about it somewhere else, just more of a, where we don't have a personnel board keeping a pulse, so to speak. You've got a gazillion things on your plate, obviously, we just put more on, and it's more of being able to talk to you directly about things that,
You volunteering?
no, it's definitely,
Sounded like a volunteer.
That's what I thought I heard.
I'm a soft
The
skills guy,
danger
but.
of talking.
No, but I don't know, it's just more of that helping that communication piece with you and making sure that, it's another set of eyes, more for you than anything. Do you have people coming and going?
I think he's volunteering.
No, it's something I would, but it's not even really, what do you call it? It's not,
Well, we could sit down and talk about it and think about what you're thinking.
yeah, okay, all
And
right,
then-
I'll bring it up, it's something I was.
Okay. Anything else we discussed?
Did you say revisit the board?
The board
appointments,
assignments.
Board assignments, and then create
Potential
liaisons?
Yeah.
Now, we have a council on aging meeting Monday. Are you attending? Well, as I'm, so Mark, I will attend the meeting.
I will not
You-
attend.
all right, just wanna make
I said at that last meeting that I was.
This
gonna
will be our
back out.
last meeting.
Yeah, okay.
And we will be in.
Okay. I guess I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you, Littleton.
Thank you.
Thank you.